everyone. Zerms is flying high here with Jaco Man as your host for the new episode of Team Area Combos. I'm here today with Everest Wolf right there and base caveman slash raptor. And today we're going to be talking about various topics such as Samurai Showdown, the seat of the Dragon Ball Z Fighter meta, casualizing fighting games, which is a Maximillian video that we're going to discuss over. We're going to talk about any other fighting game news such as CEO and Evo, and we're going to talk about all that stuff. But first, let's introduce the special guest, which we have Everest Wolf.
Hello. Hey, yes, I'm Erebus Wolf. You can find me on Twitter at Erebus Wolf. I'm a commentator for MVCI. I commentate the online tournament from Untamed Gaming every other week, and I'm also a indie game developer. I'm working on a virtual reality escape room.
That's actually pretty interesting, man. And
That's really cool, man.
then we have TBC Caveman slash Raptor as the other special guest today.
Hey guys, I go by Raptor now. A lot of you probably know me as Caveman. Um, I'm a fighting game player. I currently play Street Fighter V, Mortal Kombat, Eunice, Soul Calibur 6, Sam Show. I play too many games. Um,
I noticed that, man.
but yeah, I'm a fighting game player. I do basically anything else that's necessary. I'm also a TL. Uh, I run another server's Street Fighter V league by myself. So that's going on. I'm doing a lot, and I'm wearing as many hats as I can get. So I'm
uh,
I'm just
I didn't know about that, man. That's pretty cool.
That is
yeah
actually pretty
yeah.
cool, man.
Hmm.
So yeah, so let's go right on today's topics right here. And the first things we're gonna go over is the Samurai Showdown. How is Samurai Showdown? If you didn't know, Samurai Showdown is the newest release fighting game in the Samurai Showdown trilogy. It's the Samurai Showdown franchise that had the newest game released on the 25th of June, and it's basically a footsie-based fighting game, which is basically a very footsie-based fighting game. It's a very slow-paced game where basically you are trying to out poke the opponent right there to actually go show space right there. This game right there is a very easy to pick up fighting game for it, just because you don't have to learn complex combos or complex move inputs really, but it's a very simplified fighter that you have to outplay your opponent with right there. That basically, in certain fighting games right there, if you can just get the hit right there, you can basically not your opponent. But no, in this game right there, you have to get multiple hits to actually do it right there, unless you use certain type of moves that basically can wipe up your opponent's health bar. Um, this game is known for basically being very damage heavy base game, where basically certain moves can literally wipe off your health bar by just getting hit by it once. Meaning if you get hit by a set heavy, you lose about close to a fifth of your health bar or something like that, something around there.
hmm
That's actually pretty good, and that's basically one hit, which is a stand heavy move. But that is basically your combo right there. Basically, that's your punish, because that's how the game is designed around right there. It's basically a slow paced walk foot fighter right there, and it's actually a pretty freaking fun fighting game. Um, I mean, it's actually one of the games I've been constantly been playing right there. That it's actually pretty fun, just because you don't need to know a lot amount knowledge about the game at all. Besides, basically what moves that you want to use, what moves you're supposed to use in certain situations right there, and
hmm
knowing the character master or what the character can actually do. That's
Uh-huh.
that's actually the basic gist for it. So basically the gameplay is just basically whiffing stuff right there and punishing with punishing right there, or punishing moves that your opponent does right there, like if they freaking drop a combo, or they try to punish you with a very unsafe move. You basically punish them back, and that's how the game plays. There's actually more mechanics right there for it that actually make the game more interesting, unique, which I would go over a little bit right here. But the gameplay is actually pretty damn fun in my opinion. It's actually pretty freaking awesome. just because you don't like it's basically a game that basically you don't have to make split second decisions for, like in versus titles like that, like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Those games like that are very fast paced fighting games where you have to make split second decisions right there, or you will basically lose a character or take a significant chunk out of it, and then you get put
Yep.
in a bad situation right here. Well, this game
Mhm.
right there, you have to basically read what your opponent can do and basically knowing how to open up your opponent and actually be safe about it, and knowing what buttons to press at what times right there, and basically that's basically the main thing of the game right there. You basically just have to outplay your opponent slowly right there instead of try to get that one single hit that allows you to win the match. That's basically the difference between that and that. Um, it's actually pretty good. I can tell you more about the game. Basically, there are four buttons that you should know, which is basically it has a similar system to, let's say, Unis, like basically Under Night and Birth, where it basically has light, medium, heavy, and then it has the D button right there, which is actually something different. But this game right there has light slash, medium slash, heavy slash, and kick. Basically, light slash is basically your light attack right there. That is a vast normal right there, and do it right there. Medium normals right there are basically medium range normals that can cancel into each other. Heavy normals are basically very long setup, but very heavily damaging normals that basically allow you to whiff punish and everything. Well, the kick right there is actually a unique normal, but basically allowing you to basically sweep the opponent right there, or basically doing something that allows you to prevent your opponent from reacting to it. Reacting to like basically, there's a mechanic called basically weapon deflect, where basically if they do a close control motion with with medium and heavy slash, they can deflect, deflect your normal right there so get a big punish. Well, the kick version, well, if you use kicks, you cannot get deflected right there, which is actually a pretty interesting thing. And that basically is like a mind game aspect that you have to like realize what the game is. Um, Obviously, there's a lot more about the game that I probably won't go over because it has a lot of deep mechanics right there. But that's at least some of it, at least right now.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what are you guys' thoughts about the game with that? How good is the game, right? Or how interesting the game is to watch?
I haven't like played the game yet, but I do play. I do like watch like a lot of high level tournaments for the game so far. It looks pretty fun, man.
Yeah, the game came out, and I bought it, and then I had to go on a trip for 10 days. So I came back and literally have been playing it the last 2 days
Oh, nice.
pretty nonstop. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the hell out of it. The only thing I would take issue with your summary is that I do think it has like reaction time moments, like when people run up and go for throws and things like that. It's
That
just that you are not punished for failing those reactions to the point where you just lose the match to set play like you would be in Marvel or other
Yeah,
similar titles.
that is true. Right there, you basically only lose basically certain matches right there if you basically fuck up bigly and then they do a very heavily typed punish right there, which is basically using supers right there, and that those supers right there basically really freaking just wipe your health bar away. Which there's three types of supers, which is the weapon flipping technique, which is actually super you can combo into, which at the same time also disarms you so that you lose your range and weapon right there, so that you basically lose basically most of your range right there, and basically almost all your special moves depending on the character, which is
Hmm.
a very big aspect right there, and basically one of the main things you actually want to try to land most of the time when you actually get it. One is a super critical art, which basically you cannot combo into, but that move right there literally just wipes away your health bar if you can land it. And then there's another move that they call Lightning Blade, which basically only happens if you activate Raise mode, which is basically a one per match type deal that's similar to. Uh, I
Fatal
was
blow.
yeah, it's basically like a fatal blow right there, but it's something that you could actually counter it if you actually are safe enough. Where basically it's a move that basically allows you to get out of jail free, which is basically a move that prevents you from getting combos. So basically, it's a move that prevents you from dying. It also increases your damage and also makes certain moves become better. But at the same time, there's a move that calls Lightning Blade that basically is a quick slash right there that basically like does a quick good amount of damage like the forward right there, and that literally can freaking turn you back, get you back forward right there. But it's not like how broken it is like in Mortal Kombat, because I know people complain a lot about that fatal blows in that game. This game right there, because you have to freaking read it right there for it, because you can't do it wrong, because you get punished for it easily. But if you can like do that with a lot of stuff, but
Yeah, most characters can do it out of throw, which works pretty well. I think the really interesting thing about that mechanic is that when you activate your rage, you do lose access like to all of your supers for the remainder of the match after the rage ends, and that includes the next rounds. And so if it's if you win the first round and you spend your rage, realistically, if your opponent still has their meter, they can basically use their meter for theoretically the next 2 rounds and completely turn the game around because you spent your resources too early. So it feels like it has a big cost.
Like except for the super critical art, that one thing is a once per like match thing too. That basically is since it's very hard to land, I don't think you actually lose that right there. Basically,
Okay.
The only thing the only way you can actually combo into it is if you basically parry a certain moment. That's the only way you can actually combo into it. But they can still.
And some moves can be whiff punished with them.
Yeah, some moves can be whiff punished with them too. That is true. But most of the time, I think you will either like see it like getting parried into that, or basically a big whiff punish, like basically something that has a very long like consequences right there. Like you probably just like saw people basically bursting out of it and punishing wall tam by super for it right there, because that thing has such a 71 fucking time that they can easily punish that, which is actually a pretty interesting thing. But you don't see that move often, that because it's hard to actually use properly unless you can punish it properly right there. So, yeah. Um,
you also lose access to your guard break, or not guard break, but your I don't. It's almost like a V reversal mechanic where you just guard and then hit 2 buttons, and you'll basically knock the opponent out of their attack. You lose that access to that because that costs rage.
No, you mean parry right there? Because that's basically a reflect move right there for it. That you actually don't lose that. The only thing you lose.
No. So there's a parry, which is a quarter circle forward and 2 buttons, but there's also just blocking and then pressing 2 buttons, and it's effectively a V reversal.
No,
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about now, but that right there is is a spot dodge, and that right there is not. You don't lose access to that. That's a spot dodge.
The spot dodge is also the same 2 buttons that you would use to parry. I'll look up the name for it. It's not the spot dodge that I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I know what I'm talking about. There's basically there's the parry button right there, which is basically push forward, push those 2 buttons, and the spot dodge. But I don't remember that. I don't remember anything on part of that right there too.
I'll just boot it up. Anyway, I like the game a lot. I as far as whether it's fun to watch, I scrolled through a couple matches over the just before this podcast over the last 2 days.
Yep.
It seems enjoyable. There was at CEO. It's been at Wednesday Night Fights a couple times. It hasn't really grabbed me the way that other fighting games have in the past. So I'm not like, oh, let me see some more Sam show. But that's just me. I don't know if other people are feeling that. I think it's enjoyable. It's just not like, it's not something that I'm like, oh, I have to watch this. And so that's sort of like a general concern I have about the game. Is it just sort of reaching a like okay amount of popularity and streaming success? But like I look on the Twitch numbers that for like when a tournament isn't happening for a game that's been out for like about 2 weeks, it has really, really bad viewership.
Right.
And like I streamed it the last 2 days, and I was like the 6th most popular streamer with 6 viewers. Like, I'm not a popular streamer, so if I'm the 6th
Yeah.
most popular streamer on a game that's been out for less than 2 weeks, like, it tells me that people are not trying to watch this game. At least not, they're not trying to watch other streamers play it. They may be wanting to watch it like on the tournament level, but that is like a big concern I have about the longevity of the game.
Well, it says, well, as a counterpart, I think in the U.S. right there, this game is not like as popular as it is in Japan. Japan right there, the game's sold out across everywhere, like for it right there, and basically had to make new copies right there to actually do it to have it restock. But I don't know about the sales numbers in the U.S. right there. That could be right there. Because the U.S. audience right there obviously has different platforms to watch stuff most of the time. So obviously, like that, like Twitch streamers are mainly U.S. people right there, with some people, other people around the world. Well, I know Japan has other streaming services that they mainly just use for it. So you can't go off by just that right there. So, but also we don't know the sales numbers of how many we sold in the U.S. yet, right there, because they haven't released it yet. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, for one, it looks like that I don't see anything about that at all about because I see the spot does and then the counter blade.
So it's called stance break. I just went into the tutorial. So you've got light and medium you use to in place dodge. You use to quarter circle forward plus light and medium to parry. And if you have rage, if you just defend and hit light slash medium slash, you will stance break, which will knock your opponent to full screen and basically get them off of you. So that is another mechanic. It is in the tutorial. It is really important for dealing with rushdown characters, and because it costs rage, I assume it is something that you lose when you lose your rage meter. I guess I haven't tested it for sure, but I would consider that a bug if you could use it without meter. Yeah, that's the other mechanic.
Okay, so no wonder is that listed in this guide right here. That's weird.
Actually, looking at the tutorial, maybe it doesn't cost meter. Maybe I'm wrong, but it is a mechanic that you should know about. No, it looks like it might gain meter. I might have misread that.
Says,
Anyway.
You only gain meter right there from getting hits. Says
you gain meter from just defense.
It says that too right there. Also, basically, the Rage Explosion has a knockable pushback right there for it. That basically is probably what you might be seeing right there, but I don't know.
It's not Rage Explosion. Rage Explosion is an unblockable hit. Rage Explosion deals a tiny bit of damage and is an unblockable hit. If you go to the tutorial, it's stance break. It's at the bottom of the basic controls. It's in the game.
Explosion kill you?
You can Rage Explosion into a trap with the Rouge. How you say her name? Let me just look that up. Wu Ruizhang can Rage Explosion you into a trap, which can be an unblockable setup, which can kill. I don't know if Rage Explosion can actually like do the last bit of chip, or if it just knocks. If it's just like a hit that does a tiny bit of knock. I'll be honest. I'll
Okay, let's go over on the topic. The next topic right there. The netcode. The netcode right there has been iffy at the moment right now. Basically, when you actually play with people with good connections right there, or decent connections, it feels fine. It doesn't feel amazing right there or anything, but when you actually play someone with a bad connection right there, you can feel it right there. It feels so bad.
I even think with good connections, it doesn't feel great. Like, I definitely experience lots of micro stuttering, lots of like micro frame drops where I lose like, every other frame, every third frame. And in a game that is so neutral heavy, like it's really frustrating to feel like you missed, or like the game is jittering when you're needing to see a smooth motion to get a read on whether the opponent is like running at you, whether they actually backed up, whether they jumped in. It's probably the most frustrating thing about the game for me is the fact that like I don't have many friends that I can play fighting games locally with. I play almost all of my fighting games exclusively online, and so for the netcode to be as bad as it is, it really hurts the game for me, because I'm really enjoying the moment to moment gameplay, but I'm not enjoying the netcode at all.
Yeah, since I know it there. I did see like there was a fix for it, like not basically like a alternative way to do it right there, which is basically something to do with the lobby system because the lobby system is also fucked up too. But there was a way to actually counteract it to make the netcode feel better, which is basically like having like a tournament match type thing, where basically you just have to set up a tournament with another opponent, and then just pick the same character multiple times and then play a set against them. But
Mm.
what's the weird way that's fixed that right there? But you know,
Yeah,
um,
we can. Let's talk about the lobby and how bad that is for just a moment.
Yeah,
Because
that's why I've been hearing about that too.
actually it's not the library system. It's the UI right there that makes it so confusing. Basically, because for some reason the UI for the game you have to select the menu you want to go, pick that menu, and then you can scroll down to the menu, which makes no fucking sense.
I
Basically,
agree. Like that UI definitely confused the hell out of me for the first bit of it. But like completely separate of that, if I want to just run sets with a friend or a viewer, every
Hmm.
single time our set ends, I'm getting kicked back into lobby. I have to rejoin the little match ring in the center of the lobby,
Yes.
and then we have to
Yep.
wait for the countdown. That is
Yep.
absurd.
yeah,
Like
Why?
Yep.
in MVCI, I can just hit the rematch button and I can set my lobby to be winner stays in, and there are 8 rooms in a single lobby that anyone can fight in. In this game, it's like, okay, well, if you want to just play with a friend, it's a crappy experience. And if you want to play with a bunch of people, like,
oh yeah,
as
you
far
have
as I'm
you gotta
aware,
have
anyone can just jump in and steal their spot. Like, it doesn't look
Are
like it
you
uses a
serious?
line.
yeah, and also too right there, and also it's like the quicker the draw too right there. If you're not ready up right there, you're like not playing it out there, and also you're not gonna see the freaking like the spectate option at all too right there. That's stupid as hell. Basically, freaking ranked has a better freaking rematch player right there because it has the option to like infinitely rematch every single match or change a character like after you play rank match, you can change the character mid like after these rank matches, you can keep on playing against someone you found online. Which
Can you can you not like play with the lobby in that game though?
yes, yes. Well, one thing they know about these issues already. Basically, they do have a community manager, which he knows about it right there, and they are trying to actually fix it right now.
Well,
Okay, that's good.
that's good news for me to
Yeah,
hear because I was worried about that. Like the
Yeah.
the one thing I will say about ranked matches are better than lobby matches for me because I can continuously play. But it does feel like, at least at the times I've been playing the last 2 days, if you find someone with a good connection, I'm willing to rematch them 30 games in a row, even if I lose every single game. Both because I'm trying to learn a new fighting game, and also because I can be waiting up to like 5 minutes between matches at like
Yeah.
11 o'clock PST,
Hmm.
just waiting for a new opponent.
that is
Uh, and and that's a very long wait time for me with a fighting game.
that is
I,
one.
I th- we're talking about netcode right now, but I think that there's something that has to be addressed about Samsho. Like people are talking a lot about how simple the game is, and I disagree. I don't think it's simple at all.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I don't think it's simple at
I
all.
think that the wealth of defensive mechanics uh, and the way that all of those interact, and uh, the fact that this game is so different from any other fighting game on the market currently make it very complicated,
Hmm.
right? When people say that the game is simple, what they're talking about is that it doesn't demand much of you from an execution standpoint. Um,
Yeah, it's got low tech
but
skill, but it still has a very wide decision space.
Yeah,
Like
it's
like
mostly like cozy games.
execution is not all of what makes a game simple or complicated.
exactly. Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
same here.
And that's what I actually really like about it because I'm not an execution monster, frankly. But like the idea of continuously needing to condition your opponent to make reads on your opponent to basically be like, okay, I'm going to do a heavy attack in DP, or I'm not going to DP, or like, I'm going to hit this button and like make you and like follow it up with this projectile a couple times. And then this next time I'm not going to do that because I know you're going to try to punish and we're going to do something else. Like there are a bunch of layers to it. And you have to think about like, okay, if he normally parries after this move and I can't punish the parry, should I go for the low or should I like hit him with a standing slash that can be parried, but like I have to like make that trade-off of like less damage versus more aggression but can be seriously punished if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
Um,
yeah. Basically, I think the main freaking aspect of this game right here is that the defensive mechanics in this game right there, because how defensive they can use, you can actually use them as offensive mechanics. That's because, like, it makes it so there's another thing, like, basically that weapon flipping technique right there, that can be used offensively, like, if you predict your opponent's going to try to press a button, like after you do something like that. That is actually a pretty good thing right there because it makes it so that you have to like opponent has to respect that option and you have to like that that right there is actually a very good thing. Those defensive options in this game right there, it's legitimately the like some of the freaking like best things about the game right here, with how you actually can use that to fight on your opponent. Like that's because you can use the buttons right there. You can use basically you can just run up throw right there to actually do it. You can use one up slide right there, one up kicks right there to make you do it. Or basically if your opponent is just gonna like mash buttons all day, you can just like nope, you lose your weapon, man. Or like there's some things right there that have some interesting tools about them, like some interesting pokes. Makes it so that this game right here is a legitimately such a interesting concept right there for it. Um, I definitely recommend like if you like want to like just like have a slow paced fighting game right there that you just need to figure out what how to beat your opponents. This is the game for you right there because this right here makes it so that you have to figure out how to break your opponent's defenses and how to use each tool to fight against your opponent that you actually have. This is actually one of the main things about it. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah, and like when I've been streaming it, I've got friends that are like super into all sorts of fighting games who watch, and they like kind of live all over the country. And I'm trying to like talk them into getting it because they see me having like a blast playing it, even though I'm not doing great. I've played about 100 to 150 matches, and I think I've got like a 30% win rate because I just keep on rematching people better than me to get better.
Hmm.
But I'm still loving the game. Like it is really fun to play, but the net code is like the only thing holding it back for me. And if they can fix that, it's like, oh, easy suggestion for any of my friends so that we can have a game that's like
yeah,
you can pick it up quickly. It's easy to learn. It's really difficult to master. There's like none of the characters have like a mass. None of them are Dante. None of them have like a million special moves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
so
That is true right there. Okay, let's go to the next point, which is content. Content right there. Basically, there's not a lot of content in this thing right there. There's a
Yeah.
story mode, training mode, and basically you fighting like ghosts, and that's really it. That's basically the like only things with this. The arcade mode is, but the story mode is basically just a bare bones freaking thing like that has really no story at all, and that's really much right there. And for one, I have not tried the ghost mode at all, but I heard that's also pretty bad too. So
yeah, I
basically,
didn't try the ghost mode either. I did see other videos showing that it was or terrible though.
yeah, basically this game right here does not have the single player content for the game, for that like a lot of casual players won't want right there. So obviously right there, that's a, probably like a big thing why people don't really want to buy this game because the casual right there they want to play by yourself. That's probably like one of the big complaints for the casual audience that there's nothing really to do besides play online and online not having the best netcode. So okay, next. Overall thoughts of the game. We've been talking about it. I really enjoyed the game right there. There's a lot of things for it right there. The game I believe is definitely fun too, and
Yeah.
there's other things right there. So um, we also all talked about it. So let's talk about who are the best characters. There are basically some confirmation with some of the best characters in the game. There are two that are considered the best characters in the game right now, which would be either Tantam or Genshiro. Um, basically, Tantam right there is a basically like a wild warrior right there. Basically, like a comes from a tribe right there that basically is I don't know what his concept story is, but he wears a mask right there. He has a long
I think he's
sword.
Aztec.
Could be attached right there, yeah. I don't know exactly right there, but basically, KFM has the ability to having a long range pokes for him that allows him to hit very far away from one it is right there. And basically, he's just a poke monster, and basically he has a lot of keep away tools. So that's actually pretty damn good. And
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
Jay Wong, one CEO of Tam Tam, I would say like his one of his biggest strengths is the fact that he has like a mid-screen 50-50 mix-up.
yeah,
Like his two H is an instant is his two between his 2H low and his instant overhead, like he can basically always be have you in a mix-up unless you're full screen, and neither of those moves can be parried.
hmm
Um, he's got good run speed. He's got a good command throw. Like you said, he's got great buttons. Like Tam Tam is absolutely right now considered tied for like top tier with Genjuro.
yes,
Obviously, he just has all the tools he needs, and he's just all around great in terms of all of his button distances and hitboxes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, another thing too with Tantem, there's another thing too. Even this arm, he's actually still fat because he actually does not lose access to almost any of his special moves besides like one. So and he also has a freaking DP move for which is an invincible move that he can actually use right there. So what's that's actually pretty insane right there. That if he loses his weapon right there, he's still a threat. That's because obviously he doesn't have the pokes anymore, but he still can, keep away a bit with those, which is insane for a character to lose their weapon like that and still be freaking scary as hell. Says the only thing that he has like not going for him with it is his weapon flipping technique and his super. His weapon flipping technique basically, if you have freaking waves explosion right there and you freaking if he tries to combo into it right there, he's just gonna freaking die because you can just waves explosion with him and then just do wall freaking super like super the super critical arts when you know the base the big super right there and basically this weapon's help bar for it, and that's basically
Mhm.
one of his main downsides for it. That basically you have to be very wary when to do his weapon flipping technique. That's because he's that's so easy to freaking get parried right there. Well, not parried, the basic punish with rage explosion. Okay, getting zero.
You also, I mean, just another moment on him. Like the other thing about him is like, especially for maybe newer characters that are just wanting to pick him up because they hear he's top tier. I mean, Jay Wong plays him super lame and is really smart about how and when he picks each of his special moves to use. So Tam Tam's like does have weaknesses if you are a person who likes just doing special moves or doing your moves because all of his moves are either super punishable afterwards or have a long windup. Like his special moves are not things that you can just like throw out randomly. They're things that you really have to understand when and how to use.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas his normals are just generically very good.
That is true. Okay. Genshiro. Genshiro is a like madman too. He has really a lot of good things. He is basically the Ken of this game, but he has freaking he's better than Ken. Basically, because he has a very good DP. I mean, a very good DP that basically you can use it really in any situation right there and just say, nope, I'm out. That's because of DP. He has very good normals right there, a pretty good projectile that allows him to do mix up situations off it depending on what he uses right there. He has a command grab. He has a Rekka that he can delay right there and try to mix you up with that command grab, meaning like he can like what's which is actually pretty insane right there. And he also has pretty good damn good buttons, and he's just insane for it. And also he can easily combo into weapon flipping technique from most of his buttons right there, which is actually pretty
Mhm.
damn good. He's just a freaking machine too right there, and basically like
It's,
basically
it's
like
also worth noting his Rekka can cross up,
yes,
which cross ups are actually pretty rare in
Yeah.
this game.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
that is that's 100% true right there.
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, so obviously those two right there are very good. Basically they're good for different reasons. Tantam is a poke basically footsie god right there. That's basically what Tantam is. He's a footsie god right there. While like Genshiro right there is a rush down god right there but also can play footsies at the same time.
Yeah, he and like again, what you mentioned earlier, the setups and the mix-ups you can get just off of his projectile game. Like it's a projectile that on block it causes a card to bounce, and he can control how it bounces. And I'm like even at low rank, playing online against people, I was having people basically hit me with card, and I had to like hold the block because or else the card would hit me, so I couldn't hit a button. They run up, command grab me. They run up, hit me low. It's just like
Yeah.
it's oppressive.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
definitely very good. Okay, let's go through all the other characters, but obviously not as in depth as the other one. Um, so that we can talk about at least most of the characters here. We have
So
Galford.
I Oh, you want to just go through one at a time?
Yeah, one at a time quickly. Right there. We just
Okay, sure.
mention them, talk about them a tiny bit, then go to the next one. Galford is a pretty interesting character. He's basically probably like a hit and run character that has a projectile. He can run right there. He can have his dog basically basically put the opponent on lockdown. He's actually a pretty interesting character. The only thing that's bad about him right there that he can't throw projectiles willy nilly right there because you can't get punished for it. He has low health, so that means that you can like literally fucking lose a character off of this one bad projectile, depending on
He
the
has weak
situation.
anti-airs too.
Yeah, he has weak anti-airs, but his game method's actually pretty good. He can easily freaking ran with the weapon flipper that needs, and he has literally the best fucking animation for a super in the game. That's because
Oh yeah.
yeah, he has the best super animation in the game with the hands down. That's
He has the dog.
and also Popeye. Yes, he has Popeye. Popeye is like
The
I gotta
dog,
admit,
man.
I like Wu Rusheng super better.
yeah. Says but hey, like, does that super right there have a dog have a dog that you can toss a sword to and stab a fucking man through his stomach?
No, it
Yeah,
has
that's
it
pretty
has her
badass, dude.
accidentally killing you with a monster she can't control. Anyway, I agree 100% on what you said about Galford. He also has teleport mix-ups.
True.
That's
He can
true.
get above you and either cross you up one way or the other. He can send his dog to overhead you and run up and low. He's got a lot of good mid-range sort of pressure tools.
hmm Yeah. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. Um, in fact, I forgot this guy's name right there. I don't want to fuck it up, so give me 1 second.
Sure. I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit more about just like the tier list while you're looking that up. I looked in like to CEO top eights and into a couple Wednesday night fight top eights to kind of get a sense of who's showing up in sort of the end of tournaments. And other than the two top tiers that we've addressed, I would say that like all the characters in the game are obviously like we're week two, so like tier lists,
Ukio
no
is
one's
really
even figured this
popular.
stuff out. Yeah, but like Charlotte, Yoshitora, they seem popular. Galford, Hanzo, and Earthquake also were showing up, and I was also seeing a lot of people changing characters mid set.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's because people believe that there are matchups in this game where it's like, oh well, this matchup is more important, so I need to change this other character because they have a better matchup against this other character the guy's playing. It's unclear, how all of mid tier really shakes out with so little data. But I will say that, like, according to the internet, Wu Rusheng and Shiki seem to be bottom tier. Like those two seem to be right now shunned, and people just don't feel like they're nearly as viable as the rest of the cast.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
multiple people say that Shiki is
Exactly.
trash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I heard too.
Yeah, and also I also heard that the Yamarasu right there is also pretty bad too.
Yeah. That was on
Actually,
a
I think
Shoryuken tier list.
I think the bottom four characters that there are what people consider bad still. The basically what's his who's the other one right there? Sasuke.
I really like
Yeah,
Shiki's design, so I was sad to
Rio
hear that she
Sir.
was bottom
Sir.
tier.
Yeah, same here, man.
Yeah,
She's
Shiki
one of my
Dev's actually
favorite
definitely pretty
characters.
good right there. Like like her, she has a very good design right there. I definitely do like her. Okay, so let's continue on with the characters. Then we have Yoshitora, which is a man with 7 different swords. Basically, he's a pretty interesting character, probably with one of the best jump ins in the game, with his jump heavy right there, hitting like multiple fucking times. That he can easily link a combo off, just because how much hit stun that it literally freaking has. for it right there.
Yeah,
It's
that
nice.
move can literally take 40% of your health to 50% of your health easily with the entire combo chain he has off of it, which also gets him a bunch of special hits, which is like sort of his win condition, where if he hits you with every special attack, he unlocks the seventh sword, which is like an uber special attack that does like 80% of your health. I definitely, when I was playing online against that guy, was like, okay, he's in the air. I was playing Darley. And if he was in the air, I was in the air. Even if I was losing the air to air, I would rather eat that hit in the air and basically fall out of it, preventing his combo, than eat it on the ground and give him both Oki, because he's, even if I block that, he's still plus, or give him a 40% combo. And I'm not saying that that's like a good strat to use. I'm just saying that's the crutch that I ended up having to do against these guys online, because like those combos are long and crazy. He probably has like the longest combos in the game just off of that one jump in.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, basically that's basically it. He has a lot of multi-hitting normals, a lot of different special moves that he can use in a lot of different situations right there, and he
Yes.
has a lot of multi-healing normals right there that have like good, very good things. But obviously, right there, he has things right there. Like he doesn't have access to every single sword right there. He has to unlock each sword by landing a special hit right there. That means he has to get a hit. He has to not have it get blocked. So he has to land that hit right there. That's to do it. That's gets the last thing. Basically, I don't think he actually needs that right there. But basically, yeah, the main thing that he has right there, that those mortar healing normals right there, that good jumping right there, a lot of other tools that he has right there, it's actually pretty damn good right there. He has, oh yeah, he also has a attack right there that has a hit of armor on it that you could easily freaking go through and run in and basically have like basically win a button, like a button thing right there. That's because of that armor hit, and it's actually a pretty good like a read heavy normal. That's because of that. A special attack that has a guard point at it. That's what it is right there. That basically you can run in right there, do it, and basically does a good chunk of damage for it off that hit. He also has a DP too. That's actually really freaking good. A two different hit grabs, and basically, obviously, that right there, which is basically the seventh sword special move right there, which is insanely fucking like spammable fucking thing. Like that move right there is so spammable right there that you could easily freaking just zone up a person for the rest of the match just because of that. And also another thing, if he lands his super special critical art, he unlocks that like a seventh technique right there off the bat, meaning that if you hit it right there, he can easily spam. He can easily use that special sword special right there. That's actually pretty damn cool with it. That means that that's one of the reasons why that you want to land that super. That's because of it unlocks the seventh sword from right off the bat. So yeah, that's what I think about him right there. And then let's talk about Jubilee real quick. Jubilee is a I think a pretty good footsie based character. He has very good like normals right there. Has a projectile, which is actually always still good right there. He has very good freaking buttons. Like his sand medium is actually probably pretty damn good. That overhead attack that he does right there is actually pretty damn fucking annoying to deal with. And that's because it freaking it comes out so fast right there. But he basically he doesn't have a DP move right there because it takes so much long right there, and also his that move right there, if it's blocked right there, he can gives like easily get punished right there and lose freaking like 50% of the health. That's because how easily punishable that move is right off, like just because of that. And also his weapon flipping technique is actually pretty good because basically it's also safe and blocked too right there. So you can actually use it right there to like zone out a bit to which is actually pretty good right there. That's because you can use the zone a bit. And since he's safe and block on it, well not safe and block, he normally is like you're normally unable to punish it because how far away he is. He's not unsafe and block. He's too far away to punish in normal situations.
Yeah, I
Which
definitely was playing against the Jubei who just decided to spam that move at full screen. Again, not saying it was a good strat, but because
No.
you don't lose meter when you use supers, if they don't hit, he just like continuously spammed it. And it was kind of weird to
Oh, wow.
watch. The other important move that he has is the counter.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
is true right there. That counter
he has
does
a counter. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That counter does like 40% damage if they have a land, like that, which is fucking insane.
Yeah. Off of like a jump in read, if he gets that counter off, you are taking almost half of your health, and it is crazy.
Yeah.
It is completely
I'm
punishable. If he gets a bad read, you can just press heavy punch or heavy slash rather, and get a huge chunk of damage on him, or super him if you
I'm
have the
taking a
bar.
back. I'm taking a back seat and letting you guys talk because I don't know this much about the game, so you guys can have
That's
it.
fine. That's fine, man. Yeah. So yeah, Jubilee right there is a pretty freaking like character to like reckon with right there. But obviously he does have faults right there that he doesn't have like what master the top tier yet. But I say that he's still a pretty good character in my opinion. Then let's talk about Charlotte. Charlotte is a poke queen, where basically she has very good buttons right there. She has a jumping normal that can cross up right there, which is actually pretty good. She has projectiles for days. She has a way to keep you at like basically a fake projectile that comes out faster than normal, so that you will get hit from it. She has a DP move that's actually pretty good right there. C is basically a very freaking poke, like mid range poke character that's actually pretty good right there. That basically has some good matchups against the low tiers depending on situations right there for it. Which
Yeah, she has a lot of specials that can poke from almost full screen. I honestly feel like her DP is pretty middle of the road compared to the other characters in the game. I
yeah,
played her for a little bit. It goes straight up instead of forward, which means that some jump ins it doesn't punish them as well. But all the same, like for the ranges that she wants to be at, she's still really good. I also felt like, at least when I was playing her, it felt like you have to. It doesn't feel like it feels like they curved her damage down a bit given what her range is. So like compared to other characters, and I had just come off of playing Homaru, so like he obviously is one of the hardest hitting characters in the game off of just his normal buttons.
yep,
She hits less hard, but because she has such good range, you're gonna win neutral more often.
yep, that's true
Um,
right there. That is true. Okay, Hanzo. I actually have not fought Hanzo that much and have not seen Hanzo that much really either, so I actually don't have a good opinion on him at all. I know he has a projectile for it. I know he has some counters, not counters, some command grabs, but I don't know much about Hanzo right there.
I went through his move set and I was watching. Well, like I said, I watched Wednesday Night Fights. If I'm remembering correctly, I think I watched Alex Vale, or maybe it wasn't Alex. But I thought I watched somebody get a win on one of the two Wednesday Night Fights with Hanzo at the end. He's a mix-up like master. He can basically teleport to three different locations. So he can teleport in place, he can teleport forward, he can teleport backwards. And what's interesting about it is it's not a teleport relative to screen position. It's a teleport that's a set distance from him, which means you can cross up with it. It's not particularly safe, but if you have a read that the person's going to jump in at you or do something that's in front of you, you can get behind them. Jubei's super is a good example, or weapon flip technique is a good example. The other thing about him is he's got some interesting multi-hitting projectiles. Basically, they're these like kind of curvy fireballs that
Yeah.
get thrown at you. He's got a bunch of command grabs. He has a running command grab, which sends you back to mid screen, and he's got a standing command grab, which does more damage. I might be missing some of his moves, but that's sort of it, and that's sort of the bits that I remember from taking him into training mode. He's definitely he's a ninja, which means he can like wall jump and do other cool things. Most of his moves are also still usable after losing his weapon, which is also super useful.
Okay, yeah. Also, for one, looks like he has a very good running sweep too. So
Okay, yeah, unsafe, but super fast, I assume.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so basically, for what I'm saying with that, he has limited anti-airs and damage, but he has very good choosing multiple angles to approach from to confuse your opponent, and also having a fireball and command grab. So obviously, I don't have an opinion on him because I have not fought him much with it or used them, so I don't know like how good he is right there. So basically, sorry, I can't give my opinion on Hanzo at all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like, in the same range as like right below the top tier, simply because I saw him win a weekly tournament. And there are plenty of characters that haven't even accomplished that in the 2 weeks the game's been out. But obviously, it's too early to really, to shake out a full serious tier list yet.
Yeah, true. Okay, next, Usio. Usio is actually a pretty interesting character. He is basically a slow pace with character that basically can instant overhead you depending on the spacing right there. That is really good right there. He has some fate moves to actually do it right there. He has some good freaking normal buttons like on his arm right there, but he has a very bad jump. But no, a very bad floaty jump right there, meaning that he basically falls down very slowly right there. So that means you can easily enter air him right there if he fucks up his. He can easily punish him if he fucks up his instant overhead move. He has he doesn't have a fireball, but he has a way to reflect fireballs back at you, which is actually pretty interesting. He has a a weapon flipping technique um, that has pretty good range on it that hits overhead, and also he just sings you a song when he supers you.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think he's actually a pretty like okay character with a lot of good things. His instant overhead move right there is actually probably one of his best aspects for it because it's so fast and unreactable because how fast it is. So you have to actually predict when your opponent's gonna do it, and basically that's what you're trying to do with Usu. You're trying to like basically train your opponent to block low so you can hit him with the instant overhead right there because the instant overhead does like a a eighth of your health right there, and it's very good right there. That basically like sets you up for another situation to actually do it again. And
Mm.
he is actually a pretty interesting character. I actually do like him a lot. I tried him out right there, and obviously right there I have like when I played him I didn't know about the instant overhead technique. So I've been just been playing footsies base with him, and it's actually pretty interesting right there. I actually do enjoy him a lot.
Yeah, his instant overhead. It's not, and the other thing about it, it's not the hardest thing to do, but it's not free either. I think of all of the inputs in the game, it's the only one that's like a dedicated Tiger Knee move.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a unique feature about him is if you're not good at Tiger Kneeing, you're not going to be good with that character. Um,
Yeah,
because that's sort of like fundamental to his kit.
that is true right there. That says yeah. So I definitely think that he's actually pretty good right there, but obviously he has some flaws with the floating jump right there. He has to like slowly make an approach right there for it. He has to like yeah, actually good has to be pretty decent to actually use him right there, and you basically have to like read your opponent right there for it. You can't just throw that willy nilly right there because you will get punished for it if your opponent knows what you're gonna do right there. And basically, he does have some flaws to him, but I think that he's actually a pretty interesting character to watch just because of that. Um, Next, Earthquake. Earthquake right there is basically known as the scrub killer online, where people freaking who don't know to play the game with it just get destroyed by this character.
Oh
Basically,
man.
basically he has very long range punch right there. He's basically like similar to Dowsum right there with how he is right there. Um, but he has some problems. Obviously he's the biggest character in the game right there, so that you can
hmm
easy freaking instant overhead right him for him, and basically get so much damage off of that. Obviously right there he's big. He's a slow character too. For it right there, he doesn't have really good anti-air options besides of his forward kick move right there, which launches opponents from across the screen, but it's also a pretty good anti-air. Basically, it's like he like I've seen players with him right there. Like I saw like Golden Chen play him yesterday, and he was just throwing the hell out of this freaking Charlotte player non-stop, and it was just pretty fun. But it's like he like Earthquake is actually a pretty interesting character. Some people say that he's bad. Some people is actually saying that he's near top tier because of like basically he's big right there, slow, not really doing much right there. But I obviously still early on right there. I actually don't know where to actually place him either because
Yeah, he's tricky. Like he's been in top eights again on Wednesday night fights. He's got a lot of good tools. His moves do a ton of chip. He's got command grabs. He's got teleports. He's got a wall jump. Like he's a ninja just by being so big.
hmm
Uh, as far as I completely agree. As far as him being a noob killer, he absolutely is. Also, kind of frustratingly to me, like if you're a bad player playing another bad player and they're playing him, jumping in nonstop at him is good, which teaches bad players sort of the wrong habits. Because like you want to air him if he's jumping in the air, and he, outside of that forward kick, which some new players won't even know to do that move, but separate of that, like he doesn't have an invincible anti-air as far as I'm aware. So mistiming it will also cause you to just basically have to hold the aerial jump-ins against him.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing that you can really do against him right there, like actually fight against people jumping anti-airing, jumping at you, is to that's basically like hit him in the air with like a jump light right there, jump medium. That's really the only thing you can do, because like they're gonna just jump at you all day right there, and if you don't freaking check them right there, you're gonna be just in a world of pain right there. Basically, that's the hardest thing about there is just because he doesn't have really that good anti-airs. He can just really just get this rolled on people by just jumping in at you if you don't freaking have good reactions to him. Yeah. So next we got Horomaru. Horomaru is basically the Ryu of the game. Basically, he has a fireball, DP right there, and like a I don't think he has a command grab.
He does not.
Yeah. Okay. He has a heavy slash, a decent fireball again. Also has a fake fireball too. A combo, filler DP move, an overhead special, and projectile reflecting sake bottle. That's a weird thing. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I found that really hard to hit with. Like, maybe there's just a timing thing. I was trying to reflect projectiles with his little sake attack. You can do the sake attack without your weapon, which is nice.
Which move is it?
I think it's either quarter circle back or kick or dragon punch back kick. I don't remember. But he hits hard, and that's like he's a very like he was the first character I picked up. I played through the story mode with him. He definitely is a good Ryu character. He teaches you the fundamentals of the game. He's got good pokes. He definitely it feels like the game is about spacing when you play as him. He's got okay air to airs. He's got a good DP. The only thing the other thing I wanted to say was that he also has I think other people can do this too, but he can combo into weapon flip both off of throw and I think off of low medium.
Yeah, a lot of characters have that option right there. Some characters don't, depending on the situation right there, but a lot of characters can combo from that too.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so yeah, basically he's basically a very easy character to actually use right there. Probably one of the easiest characters to use just because he's basically just the Ryu of this game right there. So definitely a beginning character right there. If you need to learn how to play the game, pick him. That's basically it. He's definitely he definitely doesn't have he has flaws like the other ones right there. Like basically he doesn't have the best range. He doesn't have ways to out poke him. I think he's OKTP. Okay, fireball. Basically, he's just a pretty okay character that's actually pretty good in this game. Okay, next we have one second, I keep forgetting. Nakamuru. Nakamuru right there is a like interesting character. I haven't seen like people play him that much. The only player that I've been like seeing online the only player that I've watched that actually played it was Chris G. Chris G actually plays her with a couple other characters. She has a very fast walk speed, a special cancelable load, so you can throw her bird to attack right there. Pretty good like running kick attack, which is actually like a slide. A special descends are airborne, and also a cape that reflects projectiles and bird and other things right there. But she doesn't have that good of normals for it. She has stubborn normals. She has very low health. She doesn't have the best movements. She has okay speed right there, but she has the main thing that's actually like holding her back is just because of the low health and stubborn normals for it. Because like you can't really outpoke someone because you basically don't have the normals to actually counter poke right there, and also if you try to poke against them right there, you do lose like a lot more health than you basically poking them back.
Yeah, she's a character that basically I didn't even go into training mode with her because I just wasn't interested in playing her. I only played really bad versions of her online, so I can't really speak to how she's like against someone who knows how to play her well. I know she's got the fact that she has full screen dash lows is like kind of okay, I guess, but like in a game that's about footsies and neutral, playing a character that like is as stubby as her just seems like a losing strategy to me. I mean, maybe there's something in there that I'm just not seeing, but she just doesn't look like she plays the way I want to play, at least.
Yeah. Let's see. And then next we have Darling Dagger. Darling Dagger, I actually probably played the most character of the bunch right here. She's the one of the first characters I actually picked up right there. She is, so I know a lot about her. That's because of all the things right there. She has some amazing good jumping buttons right there for it, but she doesn't have the best poke buttons at all because her standing medium right there doesn't have the range like the other characters in the top tier has. She
Uh-huh.
she doesn't have that really good special moves for it. Basically, there's a move that basically like launches it up in the air like a DP move, but it's not a DP move because it doesn't have any invincibility on it. She has a hammer move that basically is a uh, more of a gimmicky move right there, or basically more of a like a bait move type thing. Then she has a hit grab that basically allows you to combo into, which is probably one of the best moves because that gives her the best range and best use to punish things that she normally can't punish with. And then
Yeah,
she
that
also
hit grab is definitely how most of her combos end. She's also the one I played the most. I picked her up after getting frustrated for a while and put a bunch of hours into her.
yep. And then she has a command grab too. Um, basically, a lot of things that I know about her that is because she has basically some like obviously like problems with that. Problems with her range right there, and problems with her specials. Her specials are not that good. Basically, you never want to use the specials at all unless certain situations right there, or basically to like try to punish things. So, like a lot of the characters on the top tier, I think, can use the specials wholeheartedly right there. While C has to basically just not do anything, or basically use like only one decent special to actually like counter that stuff. Because if you
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about a couple of things with her. She has a command grab. One of her specials launches her across the screen. It's not exactly a DP, but she can use it as a combo finisher or as like an air to air. It's like this wave tide thing. Her weapon flip tech. Say again.
okay, see also that move right there can used as somewhat of an escape tool for it right there, but obviously you don't want to use it constantly right there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you don't want to spam it, but I agree. If you're point blank, you definitely can use it to get out. Her weapon flip technique is actually really unique in that it has a hit of armor to it. A lot of weapon flipping techniques you can stuff, and hers can't be stuffed with one hit. As far as I can tell, it's difficult, if not impossible, to combo into. You definitely can't throw into it, um,
but
but it's a very close range hit only.
basically that super there, obviously you cannot get it mid screen at all. It's 100% thing unless someone finds out wrong thing. C can't. So her throw combos are really not that good right there at mid screen at all. I know that you can link stand heavy depending on how you throw right there and how fast you can actually do it. But basically, most of the combos will just be you like doing throw into stand medium. But if
Well, you can do back throw into heavy punch pretty or heavy slash pretty reliably, which is good damage. And I'm pretty sure you can do forward throw into low medium into hit grab, which is not the worst damage. It's not the best damage. Obviously, it's not getting a weapon flip like Genjuru can get off of a forward throw. But yeah, it's reasonable.
yes, I said I don't know about. I know in the corner you can actually do that right there. In the corner right there, you can easily do that a lot easier with the basic weapon flipping technique and like basic other combos right there. But mid screen her full game right there is pretty rough. That's because she doesn't have a lot of options like the top tier has with the freaking throw. Some characters in top tier can throw it and do like 30% or more damage right there, while C can only do like 10% or so, which is like sad, like for that.
Yeah, yeah. With the reverse throw, she can maybe get up to 20%, but it is not as good of a throw game. She does have cross up aerials, which is nice.
Yep.
And if you jump in with her heavy slash, it's not that hard to go heavy slash into low medium into hit grab, which is a pretty chunky combo for a jump in. And it also, if you hit heavy slash low enough on your jump in, you can be plus, so you can create a frame trap there. At least that's what I've been figuring out with it. There are some characters who, with super low jump ins, can be plus enough to create frame traps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Other things right there. Her weapon flipping technique right there actually has a hit of guard point on it, so you can use it as a DP move in certain situations like that, which is actually pretty good because So he doesn't have a reversal because of it, but using that means that you can actually get a reversal off it. So it's actually a pretty good option if you need to get a get the fuck off me tool, and that is the reason why that when you want to do it right there is basically just reversal right there, because since it is hard for her to combo into it mid screen most of the time, that's a good way to actually use it right there. That's because if your opponent, this is also a very good air to air super too. That like if you just do it right there, you can easily freaking punish your opponent for jumping in at you, and it's actually like one of the things I actually use her super. That's how I use the super most often right there by either reversing or try to like do a air to air super force.
Yep, that's Darley.
Yep, that's Darling right there. Okay, then we're going to talk about Wu Zhang. Obviously, we talked about all these characters already, like a bit right there, how the works right there. Basically, we were just going to go quickly through them real quick. Um, Wu Zhang right there basically doesn't have. She takes a lot of setup right there to actually start playing her game. And also, like if she has the doesn't have the light read right there, she has her post right there, and her design philosophy is a capable character, and she doesn't have the like a lot of the tools for her to actually properly get and everything for it.
Yeah, I went into training mode with her. I liked her, but I wasn't good with her. Is basically it. She can set one of three traps on the ground, which kind of are these golden puddles that will sprout out into trees if the opponent is on them. But the opponent can pretty easily just like move up to them or jump onto them with an attack on you and then just block instantly. They're not necessarily guaranteed hits. She has three different fireballs, which is kind of cool because, well, I mean, everyone has three fireballs, but she has three heights
So
to
they're
her
not as
fireball. She
good
has
as,
an air
say,
fireball,
Venom's
a low
Trap in
fireball.
Marvel Infinite.
Say again?
So they're not as good as, say, Venom's Trap in Marvel Infinite.
No, they are not as good as Venom's Trap in Marvel Infinite. Venom's Trap will come up and grab you in Marvel Infinite. Her traps are easily jumped over. They can be. I think I've seen them be taken out with like Tam Tam's projectiles. I was up against a Tam Tam trying to use her, and he could just like throw a projectile down from the air and take out the traps. She has a counter, which is Dragon Punch Back Kick, which does okay damage, but it's nowhere near as good as Jubei's counter. So I'm not sure what the balancing choice was there. She has a Phoenix sort of in front of her fire attack. It's kind of similar to Earthquakes. He has a fire breath as well, and that's it's a good finisher for her like short basic combos. But like most of her normals are not great range, and obviously her aerials aren't great. She has one thing I didn't fully understand with her, and again, this is just my lack of experience with the game. I tried doing a quarter forward kick, and she did, which isn't listed on the moves, but it does do a different animation where she kicks and then goes into like this little "I'm losing my balance" animation, and I'm not sure if that's a taunt or what the point of that is. But yeah, she's just got a kit that it requires a lot of setup and zoning without giving you really any particularly good damage or reward for setting that up in a game where like if she's behind in health, like you don't really need to approach her is my feeling on it. Like, and if you do approach her and you're right on top of her, then she's in a really bad spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely do agree with that. Okay, next we're going to talk about Yoshimaru. I believe hopefully I didn't fuck up his name. Um, yeah, Yasamaru. Basically, he has some decent range on his normals right there. A TPS cutting move right there. An air fireball command grab, all raised the hands. But basically, he has some issues right there. He has Pesos that can get easily punished right there. Great buttons on the ground, but interesting air options. But his super game is not that great. He I actually don't know much. Like I
He
guess
has a double jump, right? We're talking about the guy with the crow mask.
yeah, Scribe with the Comass with the
Yeah,
double
edge
jumps.
lord. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, from what I've been saying right there, he has some okay things about him right there. Decent range of his normals right there. Has some good air mobility, a air command grab, a blockable air command grab, well, a blockable hit grab. Sorry, other things right there, and all raise the hands. But like his weapon flipping technique with there, that super is pretty bad. Like basically, it's just a freaking like get the hell off me for a while for about freaking 5 seconds right there because he was
Oh,
so
that's the one that's just like a bunch of little orbs that like get shot at you. It's like Attack of the Fairies or something. Yeah, I don't really understand why anyone would ever do that move outside of just to stall the match.
yeah. I don't know. That basically is nothing right there. He doesn't seem that good of a character just because of like that. He has obviously that spin move with it, which will catch opponents off guard. It can cross out depending on the situation for it. But I like basically has a lot of like he has a lot of interesting problems right there that not like the other characters have like above him. You know the other characters. Um, basically like he like the main thing is that he can't reliably come into weapon flipping technique that well for which like a lot of the characters above right there have like a good reliable ways to combo into it. Like all the characters like in the top tier besides like Tantam can can easily reliable combo into it. Um, basically, I think he just has a lot of two problems, but I also have to like know if he's actually like bad or
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think that some of his strengths are like I think the double jump is basically what most of his design is based around. He's got really good air to airs. He's got big air buttons. And like Darlie also has good air to airs, but she can lose to his air buttons. Is basically my context for that. And the fact that like if you jump and he jumps, he's got the mix up right. He can jump again and go way higher and then let you whiff and then come down on you. It's not a great game plan, especially in a game with DPS. But that I think that's sort of where his like the core to his kit is kind of based around is being this very high air mobility character. Um, I just don't know that obviously I've not seen him. I didn't see him in any of the top eights. I know he's like popular online with new players because he looks cool and he seems like a cool character, but I'm kind of with you on him maybe not being anywhere above like low tier.
yeah. Okay, let's talk about the last two characters. One is Shinsky, and then I keep forgetting this guy's name because no one plays him. Yosiro. We were talking about them both right there. Shinsky right there is actually a pretty interesting character because she um, she has a vertical DP, a dashing attack with different enders, overhead kick, teleports, everything like that, and command gun that reverses the opponent's inputs, which is actually pretty interesting. But the problem is right there that she has obviously not a lot of range, but some of her normals are unsafe on hits, meaning that she can get punished by hitting the opponent.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So and also because she doesn't have a lot of range and that's that's actually probably another thing because why do you get punished when you hit the opponent right there?
Which norm? Do you know which normals they are, and if
I
they're cancelable into anything,
I
or are they
do
just like?
I don't know, but I heard that like the reason why that C's pretty bad is because some of those normals right there are like unsafe on hit. I have to probably look it up real quick and see what a thing they're
Yeah,
doing.
because like if you're just looking at her in training mode, which is what I did, like she has an interesting kit. Like she's got teleports, she's got a bunch of different stuff. Um, I was wrong about Hanzo. Hanzo's teleports and her teleports, I got confused. Hers are the teleports that you can move to set distances. Hanzo's teleports are always either full screen or above the opponent, I think, or in place. So sorry about that misinformation, but yeah, her teleports are the ones that you can like move forward a set distance and move back a set distance. Her DP looks interesting. All of her special animations look cool. So like you wouldn't know unless you were setting the dummy to attack you as soon as it could that um her moves are just unsafe on hit. That is a horrible way to be. But while you look that up, I guess we can talk about the
Frog
last
or low
guy, who's the
tier, right?
frog dude, or unless you got the data already pulled up.
Or is
One
that
thing I'm looking
low
at
tier?
I'm looking at the heavy ones real quick. Um,
Okay,
well, but it says this. I think that place has some stuff right there too right
let me
there.
pull that up.
Okay, well, okay, the
Pretty
frog
low
dude
tier.
right there is like a Kisuro, I believe, which is basically he has a pretty good range for it
Hello?
right there. a very good move to air to air right there. A weak, but he has a not a good fireball on the ground. A weak TP. Attached to the move that loads fire breathing. A a weapon flipping technique that does a lot of chip damage, which is actually pretty good. And a low hit grab that sends his opponent to fog out. Okay, basically he has a slow run speed, floaty jump, weak close up buttons. He has okay range, conditioning opponent to stand blocked and hitting it. Can have a fall grab, good wake up pressure, and a surprise attack that left travels a long distance right there. Obviously, no one freaking plays this character at all, so we don't have a good idea of how he actually supposed to play. But people are saying that he's not that good because of basically like if you rush him down right there, he has a lot of problems right there, and basically a lot of the characters that are good in the top tier have very good rush down tools for it, and he just gets destroyed by rush down characters. But obviously, right there, I don't know much about him. That's from what I like from what I hear. I believe, but obviously I can't give you the good thing for it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Shiki for a moment. So she's got a 5D, which I guess is what their word for kick is. It's a low commit anti-air. It's unsafe on hit, but it's cancelable. So it's not like the worst level of unsafe, but it's an anti-air, and so it's not something you're going to use all the time. The other thing is that she has a special move that's not exactly a Rekka, but it's basically two special moves that are supposed to always be canceled into each other. It's Exodus Stream into Cloudburst, and if you don't cancel it, it's unsafe.
-20 on hits.
Yeah, so it's unsafe on hit unless you cancel it into Cloudburst, which is just the same input again. So basically, you have to always get the inputs correct on those two things. If you screw up that Rekka chain, you will get punished.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous right there. Yeah, so
it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still not the best.
How fast do super start up?
But if you hit with the move, you just input the move again, and it will move, and it will transition into a safe move that's part of a true combo.
Well, so like, if you get hit by the first move, what I'm thinking is that if you get hit by the first move, what's to stop you from just doing super?
The second, the opponent successfully inputting the second move.
Well, no, I mean like.
Oh, you mean if they fail, if they fail to input the second move?
Yeah, just do super. If they fail, it comes out. Your super comes out, and it punishes them on hit.
I don't. I think you could do weapon flip depending on the character. Super has a lot of startup.
Okay.
Super. I don't know if Super has 20 frames of startup, but Super has this whole like there's like it goes donk, and then the lighting changes, and then they start the super animation. Like you need like a full second of recovery to like properly super punish someone.
What I mean is weapon flip. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with you. Just do weapon flip after getting hit with that every time. That's probably a reasonable option select for like punishing them screwing up. Again, provided you have the meter to weapon flip, you still have to be at full rage to do it. But yeah, that's a perfectly fair point. All right, are we through, everybody?
Yeah, we're through everybody right now. So yeah, basically we always talk to them about why they're good and why they're bad right there. Basically, what needs to be fixed about them? Basically, obviously, you just need to freaking have like a lot of characters need a lot of things fixed about them right there. Obviously, Sinky right there needs to have stuff that's not unsafe on hit. That's basically the one thing that needs to be fixed on her. Other things just needs to be changed here and there. Right there. Some characters are actually completely fine, like Holy Mitsu. Obviously, he's completely fine. But there's other characters that have like stupid amount of things right there, like freaking Gensuru right there. They can easily fucking just TP really anytime they want right there, and it will hit because how fast it is.
I mean, my honest opinion of the game right now is I would much rather they fix the netcode and fix the lobby and don't even touch the balance for like another 3 months. Like fix those two things, let the balance shake out, let people play more tournaments, let people play the game. It's
That's
okay if it's
that's
not super balanced.
that is 100% true right there. Says I was gonna say that basically it's just fix the netcode right there and fix the menu UI. That's basically like the things you have to fix the most right now. The netcode and the menu UI right there. Basically fix any bugs like that because I know that
Oh,
Jubilee has like a freaking like a glitch right now that basically is just like an animation glitch that basically that happens right there when he like trades up a certain thing right there. There's like his super critical card or something like that. Yeah, so that's basically what needs to be fixed. Also, there's going to be like 4 DLC characters down the line right there, but we will talk about them when they come out. So yeah, so that's thoughts about Samurai Showdown. So let's talk about Dragon Ball Fighters next. Dragon Ball Fighters, the state of the game. The state of the game right there has like probably like in a lot of people's opinion at the moment, they're becoming stale. Stale meaning like having like the same type of meta right there, which is basically the same type of characters. Like Bardock has always been top tier since he got released, and even though he got fucking numerously nerfed right there, he also got freaking buffs in areas that basically like that he should not have gotten buffed right there, and he's still one of the best characters in the game. And then there's the freaking like aspects of basically Dragon Ball Fighters got nerfed across the board with mirror building, basically level 3 setups right there, and then they just give them to a DLC character, which is GT Goku, which is stupid right there. Um, basically, basically it's just stale because how the game is nowadays. Well, basically,
Now, when you mean stale, do you mean stale from watching it competitively, or do you mean stale from playing it?
we're talking about Dragon Ball.
I would
Yeah,
say
we're talking
that
about Dragon Ball.
I would say it's a bit of both with it because obviously I have not touched the game in about 2 months or so. Obviously, I have watched it right there because obviously there's going to be character variety online right there that I actually would like to see and not see the same team over and over again. But with how it's basically how the combo system is too, where basically you will see normally a lot of the same type of combos right there. So basically, you would see the same type
Yes.
of like combos right there over and over again, and doesn't have a unique combo system right
Here's your
there.
number. Number 2.
And basically not it's like obviously like it's supposed to be a versus game, but how the combo system is right there, it basically makes it so that after a while right there you will see the same thing right there that it won't excite you at all anymore because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna out myself here. I have not liked DBZ since or DBFZ since it came out. I played MVCI for like a bunch of months before DBFZ came out, and I was like so into that active tag system that when
Mm-hmm.
DBFZ came out, like the things that I remember not liking about MVC3, about basically needing to stop playing the game when I'm getting comboed, the nature of assists and sort of the way that system works, and that like that's just not how my brain works. So like I
Mm-hmm.
played DBFZ. I still get roped into playing DBFZ to this day because I've got friends who play it that refuse to play Marvel, or MVCI I should say specifically. And so like the problems I have with DBFZ are like I played Exerd and then I'm used to, instant air dashing and having some form of neutral, when
Right.
in DBFZ it's like oh, you're approaching, I'm gonna Dragon Rush you.
I mean,
And
no,
or
we super dash you, not Dragon
or
Rush.
Super Dash, sorry, Super Dash. I get the terms confused. That's a good thing to correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna Super Dash you.
yeah,
And so like I was immediately frustrated with that game. And so like I've only watched maybe 2 tournaments in the entire life of the game. So like I'm gonna like trade places with Raptor here because I'm sure he has more to say about it. And like outside of me just saying basically when they made Android 18's combos easier in a balance patch, like I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
cool because my team is 18 Krillin and sort of whoever else I feel like playing at the time because I like
Oh
the
man.
married team, which also
Oh
means that
man.
like I'm playing like low tiers that are not the easiest to actually make work, but
Yeah.
that level three with the 2 of them doing it, that's what makes it work for me. Like I'm fine with that. But yeah, like it's just not my game. And because it is sort of like basically it's about doing the same combos, and it's about sort of learning the optimal setups and then
Mhm.
just putting people in the mix with your assists. And obviously my
Right.
team doesn't have good assists for doing that.
yeah.
Um. So like, people who know me and people who recognize my name know me because of Marvel 3. I know Jaco and Zerms because of Marvel 3. And uh, coming from Marvel 3 to trying to get to Dragon Ball is people told me that it would be great and people told me that it would be super easy, but it's not. It wasn't for me because I was used to having free reign over my movement in Marvel 3. I loved plink dashing so much. Um, and I played like largely grounded characters, but I played Marvel 3 and plink dashing let you be anywhere you wanted. And that kind of freedom of movement wasn't in Dragon Ball. It felt slow to me. And the fact that like characters have one assist, and if your assist, you know,
Yeah.
it just feels like characters have fewer chances to be viable. The movement feels slower, and less like you have less control over it. And I'm not attached to Dragon Ball as a franchise either, so I really don't have any pull to like anything pulling me to the game.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it's this probably how the game is actually designed right there, where basically a lot of people just got put off because the game is not it's designed to be a rust down game right there. When some characters in the game are not designed to be rust down, like Frieza. Frieza
Mm-hmm.
obviously is not designed to be a rust down character, but because how the mechanics are, is it, and basically how the mechanics are all anti rust down characters. Like
Right.
anti rust down like that, you have to play the characters like that. People would love to actually see more variety in that game, but because how
A great example like the game being for rushdown, but characters not being rushdown characters is Beerus. Like
yeah,
Beerus, his kit is designed for him to be like space control and denying areas of the screen and positioning the spheres so that you can't move there and doing all. It's not good.
yeah, it's all
It's
because
never been good.
of Super Dash. That's actually the main thing right there that people don't like. They have to play Rushdown if they want to play Dragon Ball Fighters, and they have to freaking like go in and actually do it right there because Chip right there is not existent at all. But there
It is
beside
negligible. Yes.
yeah, and basically if they want to actually have it right there, like basically look at Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Vanilla versus that. People hated the vanilla one. Obviously, they still loved it right there, but they hated vanilla because it had a lot of freaking issues with it. And in the ultimate version, fixed a lot of those issues right there. Obviously, the game is still broken as hell because that's how it was designed for it. But it made a lot of
Hmm.
good quality of life issues that actually made it a lot more enjoyable for it. And
Yeah.
obviously, Dragon Ball Fighters actually made those right there, but they did those like updates right there were minor each time right there. Like obviously the guard freaking thing, the guard how the new guard the V reversal thing right there is now. How basically now you can like instantly tag right there, like by holding black right there, or you can like choose to have instant air dashing on or off right there, which is actually
Hmm.
pretty good. But a lot of like things with that are still like designed like that people really hate. People hate those super dashes today, and also they hate the tag mechanics because those tag mechanics are based off the super dash mechanic. What's base,
Yeah.
what's basically like tagging in a versus game is so unsafe. But in Dragon Ball Fighters, basically you have to read the opponent that has to do it right, that has to do it right there. Except this easy punishing them, which is stupid.
Exactly.
Basically,
Exactly.
basically, and
Like tagging is fine.
yeah, tagging, yeah, tagging. Like it's supposed to be safe right there. You can also like make it safe right there, like with vanish right there off a thing right there, depending on the situation. But in a
Hmm.
versus game right there, you should not have the ability to freely say, nope, I'm getting out of this situation for free right there, and also getting a free combo off
Yes.
by just holding down one of my assist buttons right there. That's
Yeah.
actually like one that's one of the most hated mechanics in Dragon Ball Fighters is this the tag mechanics because of that
I agree.
basically what they should do right there is basically make it so that the tags are unsafe unblocked, meaning like you will get punished for it right there, and also you cannot banish stats and make it safe. And also to make it so,
Mhm.
and also make super dashes unsafe too, so that you cannot freely use super dash like that, so that it's all like more like basically predicting right there.
Maybe not like punishably unsafe. Like, oh man, you do super dash and it gets blocked. It's a huge punish. But like, you gave up your turn.
Yeah, yes. It says, and also make it so that you can have super dash and call assist too. Because look, that right there, that super dash call assist right there makes it so that you have to freaking take any super dash that the opponent does right there. That means you have to freaking block no matter what.
Well,
With
versus games do that. Versus games let you do that. They let you do unsafe things, but you have an assist covering it. So I'm okay with that.
yes, yes, that is true right there. I definitely do agree with that. But with how this like that thing is right there, it says I see that the super dash mechanic, like if you do a raw super dash, you should not be safe, or basically you have
Okay.
to lose your
Yeah.
turn. But basically,
Yeah.
eh, but also you have to like I say that with a super dash and a system that you should have the ability to interrupt it if you time it correctly too, so that you have a way to
Yeah.
get out of it. That right there is actually probably one of the main things. Also, I think that another good thing, obviously besides the assist factor too, it's basically obviously
Mhm.
allowing him to have more different assists right there too. It's also have the ability to make more unique combos like that. Obviously, they did change characters around like that to make them more unique combo wise, which I do
Mhm.
enjoy. Like they change characters, like change combos a lot, but basically a lot of the basic combos is basically just like a normal combo right there, and to like into like jump cancel 2 8 right there, then do a normal combo on that, and that's basically combo. That's the bread and butter combo you see everywhere, and like Dragon Ball
Mhm.
Fighter matches right there, depending on because it's easy, it's safe to do, but basically it doesn't have combo variety right there, and like
Yeah.
it says after you would see basically bread and combos everywhere right there, but basically they made it unanimously the same almost across the board for every character, so that you don't
Right.
see it for because you see it for every single character almost right there. You basically like, you would see always right there and it looks all the same, but the combo systems look all the same because of it. They have to make
Yeah.
it so that that universal combo like that is at least visually different for every single character, because it
Yeah.
looks basically it looks exact same for everything like that after you watch it for a whole while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually like one of the main things right there that people like probably like don't care watching this game that often anymore, because it like but most of the combos look the same. Obviously, there's like some characters that some players you will watch no matter what. Like people want to watch
Yes.
Goichi because he how he's a god. People love to watch any of the top players at this game because you actually see him actually like you like do amazing stuff and have amazing blocks in this game with it, which is actually pretty good. I actually
Mhm.
I'm actually perfectly fine with like watching a high level at this right here. But with how the like, game was look at that, if you like watch a normal player right there, or like people that's
Mhm.
picking top tier right there, it looks so boring to watch right there.
Yeah.
There's that's basically what we need. What we need to do right there is change the like, universal combo system so that visually right there it looks different right there for every character. Obviously, or like change it so that the combos are different for every single character so that you don't use the same jack bread and butter right there for it. Even though in the same thing right there, in different characters like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, every character has
Mhm.
the same basically like thing right there. You can do a jump comp, you do ABC, S right there, that right there. It's the same, but because how the normals look, like, and how the characters interact with each other character, it looks different for each character. And also
Well,
because,
Yeah.
it's also worth noting in MVC3 that you don't use that combo.
No.
like
I'm not,
like
no,
like
no, I'm
that's the
talking about
biggest
simple.
difference.
I'm also talking about the simple combos like that. Simple
Sure,
combos.
sure, sure. But like the simple
That
combos in Dragon Ball, like if you want the analog for that, it's the auto combo. It's just
Yeah.
light, light, light,
Yeah,
light, light,
pretty
light.
much.
I
also,
mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
and so but like we're talking about the bread and butters, and the bread and
Basic and
butters in
high level.
DBFZ
Oh yeah,
look the same.
yeah,
They do.
bread and butter is the same for all around the cast. But like in Marvel's Capcom, but bread and butters are totally different across the board for every single character, just because how the
Yeah.
combo system is. That's the major thing that people actually like probably would like the fix with it. Like change the combo systems to allow more variety in characters. Because look, that will make it so that people will be watching more of this, like they'll play more of the game because it makes it more interesting. But obviously,
Right.
they would have to change overhaul the entire combo system for it right there. Which I don't know if they would want to do that or not because
They won't. And when we talk about Max's video, I have a ton of notes on exactly why they won't. But
yeah,
we'll get there.
yeah.
I do too. I didn't. I had to leave the house and I didn't bring my notes with me, which was a mistake. But I remember most of
Yep.
it. So.
Yeah, so that's basically what I thought about that. I think I saw a couple things here and there for the pro players, what they think about Dragon Ball Fighters currently, and I know that like Aon, not Aon, not like, I'm sorry, not the Phoenix Wright player, the French player. I know I'm saying his name wrong. um,
Oh. Oh man. I.
it says
Alioun.
Alion, yes, Alion. Basically, he like, says that he actually enjoys this game of Monster right there, even if how the combo system is in this game with it, because he actually thinks this game is a very high level game, but
Mhm.
he like thinks that this game is actually perfectly fine with it is. While other characters, other players right there think that this game right is just getting a little bit too stale at the moment. So
Mhm. I feel like a lot of the low tier characters have consistently been low tier through patches, right? The top has changed, like characters in mid tier have gone to the top and vice versa, but the bottom has stayed the bottom the whole time.
Like Krillin, for example.
Krillin, yes,
Krillin,
Krillin has been at the bottom the whole time,
Krillin,
right?
Krillin,
Beerus has been at the bottom the whole time.
Super Saiyan God Vegeta, bottom the whole time.
Yes.
Yes, I definitely, I definitely
I
need.
mean, they made an effort with Krillin by making his assist not the absolute worst thing in the world in a patch. But yeah, like this is a game where stubby normals. Like I think Gotenks is the Gotenks and Kid Buu are the exception to the rule on that.
Mhm.
Like having a good 2H. I mean, it's like Cell was top tier for what like the entire first 6 months the game came out. Just because he had insane normals and good combos.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it says obviously we talked about it right there. Basically, the game I think probably needs a total overhaul to actually fix all the problems that basically make it so that the game is stale. Which is basically the combo system, the issues with basically they freaking nerfing like abilities across the board right there, then giving it to a DLC character. Like basically like
Mhm.
that's a major thing. They nerf freaking level three Oki across the board, then they give it to another character that's a DLC character that literally freaking can just like touch the death for you off of a satellite, which should not touch the death for you because it's a light and how combo handling in this game. But he says no, I can still touch the death for you off a standing light.
Mhm.
Basically, they just need to freaking like they just have to probably just like figure out what people want to actually like. Some people actually like really wanted the double super aspect back, which I actually think is actually pretty good because that will actually bring some characters back to the limelight. Like because you can just double super again, or make it so that the meter game nerf is not like that across the board. Like where basically after you use a EX move right there or meter move right there, you have the ability to actually like, gain some meter on it depending on the situation.
How do you
Mhm.
feel about touch of deaths in general? Like whether they should exist in the game at all?
I'm
Uh,
cool with them,
I'm
to be
cool.
honest with you. Like they cost a lot.
Yeah, they cost a lot. There, you also need to know how to actually properly do them with it. You need to practice what what will actually kill at certain meter uses right there, and you also have to practice the clean one. I'm perfectly fine with them.
Mm. I was just curious. It's not to my taste, but I totally understand why someone would and it can be hype. If it's too easy, it isn't hype. But there's a certain level of execution that has to be there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
completely fine with
it's
that.
it's it's that and the fact that I got it. You're gonna want to back her up. Sorry, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm okay with Touch of Deaths largely because of how much they cost. You really can only do them one time.
Yeah, because they cost sparking.
Yes. So I'm okay with that. If I determine that that character has to die, right? Like it's early in the game and I have enough meter and that character is still full health. No, that character has to die right now. Well, then that's okay.
Sure.
Right, and that introduces a choice. If you can do it all the time, it's not really a choice. If you're not doing it, you're wasting your time. If you're not killing that character, you're wasting your time. But if I can only do it one time, I gotta pick a character to do it to. And I think that like more choices like that, making choices based on the information you're getting from your opponent like that, is better.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I feel about that. So obviously, let's go to the next point of topic because this discussion right there also relies off goes into the next point of topic right there, which is basically a video that Maximillian released recently called basically Stop Nerfing Fighting Games, which is basically him talking about him like not liking that they're simplifying fighting games because they're trying to bring in more people into the game. But basically, like it's like what I said right there. Basically, it's a discussion of him thinking that, like, basically, developers are thinking that if they make the game more accessible right there, more people will actually join in and actually play the game. Well, he believes it's actually the exact opposite. Like, it's not if people because
I don't actually think it's that he believes it's the opposite. I watched the video twice and I like my notes are on it. He kind of jumps all over the place. He definitely is saying he doesn't like that the fighting games are getting dumbed down. And what he's saying is that dumbing them down does not bring casual players in. But I don't think he's actually saying that making them more complicated does bring players in. He never makes that point. It's just implied that the games will still be better and basically appeal to the hardcore audience. Basically, you can make a game that appeals to the hardcore audience and still appeal to casuals and have hardcore mechanics. Like, that's sort of his point.
So, like, when he says lower the skill ceiling or, like, decrease the skill gap or nerfing, what he's talking about is execution.
But he's not. He actually conflates the issues of execution and decision space a lot, which actually annoys me. And I'm going to be a villain here because I agree with a lot of what he says and I disagree with about 30% of what he's saying. But that 30% is like his main point. But he definitely like his take home point, and a lot of the times he was saying is like complexity and he made 3 points being less about combos, less about options, and less about things you have to worry about. Options and things to worry about to me are decision space complexity. Sam Show is the easiest one to look at. It's like, okay, he can grab me, he can overhead me, he can low me, he can parry if I do something else. I have to think about a lot of things. And it's not just a simple rock, paper, scissors. So you have
he calls the game simple though.
He does, but he also says that it's simple, but within his tastes. Like he doesn't dislike the level of simple. But the other half of that is one frame links. It's tech skill. It's this. There isn't a decision happening here. It's just can you execute? And those are two very different things for me. And so when he lumps all of that into nerfing fighting games, I get frustrated by that because for my taste, I like low skill, high complexity low tech skill, high complexity fighting games. Those appeal to me.
Here, man.
Okay.
And so like, and Max likes high tech skill, high complexity fighting games within reason. Actually, I would argue Max likes high tech skill, medium complexity fighting games. Because Third Strike,
Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear is both.
I agree. Guilty Gear is both. He likes Guilty Gear. He doesn't play much Guilty Gear for how much he professes to like it.
That's true. That's very true.
So he can say he likes a thing, but like if I'm looking at what he's playing, he's not playing Guilty Gear. He's playing Third Strike, And he played a little Sam show. He plays whatever's hot, but he plays MVCI reasonably, and he plays some other stuff like at a reasonable coming back to it pace. He plays MK, whatever. And so like this for me is about his taste. I did cut you off after you can continue whatever point you were trying to make about complexity and tech skill. I just wanted to make sure that we separated decision complexity and tech skill, because for me they're different things, and Max is lumping them together and saying that fighting games are removing both of them.
Yes, I agree with that. But the thing that I also want to explain to anybody who doesn't understand, like who might be listening and might not understand, that tech skill and execution mean the same thing. They're just different words from different communities. And I didn't know that until like last year, because I didn't know that the Smash community used that term for that.
I will be using a lot of Smash terms. I'm not particularly a huge Smash community guy, but I definitely have watched a lot more Melee and Ultimate than I have watched like old school Street Fighter or whatever else.
I just wanted to explain that for anybody who might be listening who didn't know. But I think that a lot of what Max is talking about is making execution simpler, right? Is not liking that execution is being made simpler. He does mention that simplifying decisions is also happening, but he calls Samurai, like the main reason that I think he's talking about execution mostly is that he calls Samsho simple. It's not at all. Like in the decision-making space, it's not simple at all. Everybody has a bunch of options, right? Especially on defense.
No, I think what he's saying that it's execution-based simple. Because I
but that's exactly what Raptor's saying. That's what Raptor's saying. Is that the core of Max's argument is that they're making execution too simple in fighting games. They're making it baby level execution. And you could make the argument that Street Fighter V simplified both execution and decision space. Like compared to Street Fighter 4. There are like in Street Fighter 5, there's a lot of characters. I'm thinking of Mika, Laura, and Geef specifically, but also later on, you had Abigail as well, who can just put you into, you have to eat a mix-up at this exact moment. There were no footsies that led up to this. Eat my mix-up now. And it's like very discrete decision points. And I think a lot of fighting game like veterans don't like that, because they're used to having more neutral before they get screwed by that. Whereas like, it's much more like, oh, you screwed up. Like you didn't react in time, or you did this one thing wrong. Now I'm on top of you. Now you're eating this mix up. And so,
that's really funny. It's really funny that like fighting game veterans, especially like old school fighting game veterans, don't like that, because that's what old games are. That's what old games are, because old games are busted. Right? If you played Marvel 2, that's what Marvel 2 is. Like, Marvel 2 is that. Marvel 2 is, if I'm playing MSP, well, you messed up once, and now you have to eat these 4 mix-ups from, like, Magneto and Psylocke.
So the issue is that, and this is just my opinion on what I think it is that a lot of veteran players have spent a lot of time getting good at these like DP motions, combo execution, all of this stuff, and so they can use that to basically bully and beat up on people that haven't necessarily executed that. So when you lower that tech skill and now it's just decisions, they get frustrated that they don't have the edge anymore. I feel like this is the same thing with Melee, because I hate L canceling. L canceling is a mechanic in Smash Brothers Melee where if you tap the shield button within a couple frames of landing after doing an aerial, it'll half the landing lag, and it is not a decision. There's no decision about L canceling. It is never a good idea to not L cancel. It is a thing you always have to do, and if you fail to do it, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I don't like that, because it's not a decision. It's not a thing where the player is making a choice. It is either you do this every time or you don't. And you can take tech skill to the absurd, where like, in order to do any move in the game, you have to frame perfect, hit 2 buttons at the same time. Like you could do that. You could make like there's a deep end to tech skill that you can go to. And there's obviously like a happy medium of like, okay, how hard should it really be? And like I'm open to those discussions about like how hard should it be versus how hard should it not be to make the game feel good and be fun and still have a competitive nature. It's just a matter of like everyone has different tastes, and like and the frustrating thing for me is like, and the reason I'm about to become the villain here is the entire FGC needs to take a big bite out of a slice of humble pie and understand that they are not the majority of fighting game players. They are the loud minority. Max said the loud minority is the group of people who were complaining about not being able to one frame link in Street Fighter 4. No. Those are the majority of players. And like, I want to make it clear, I love Max, dude. I'm a huge fan of his. I watch his streams. I watch his YouTube. I like him a lot. I just really feel like the way he worded this versus like what I feel the way that it should be worded is very different. And part of that is coming from someone who is developing video games right now. I'm not a successful game developer, but that is the profession I have right now is a game developer. And so if you're looking at game development, if you're looking at SNK and Capcom, two publicly traded companies, their goal is to make money with their fighting games. Max's point is that he feels like making the mechanics more casual doesn't bring in more players. And I don't disagree with him, but I don't agree that I don't think that that is necessarily the biggest and most important point. He is right that making it feel good, giving it a big roster, making it fun, all of those things are important. Those are like having good marketing, having good IP. All of that is hugely important towards getting the casual audience. But I pulled up a ton of sales figures for fighting games, and it's going to probably surprise the hell out of you in terms of like what sold, what didn't, how did these games do? Because if you want to talk about like Street Fighter 4, this game that was like, oh man, we love Street Fighter 4. We love one frame links. We love hard execution. The vanilla Street Fighter 4 sold 3.4 million copies.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo sold 4.1. In fact, Street Fighter has never sold a game as good as Street Fighter 2's Turbo sold. It has never surpassed the sales of Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So if you want to talk about like, well, the issue here is like, I can't be like, oh, look, these games are more complex and they sold less, because everyone will jump down my throat and be like, well, that game didn't look as good, or here are these other 5 different reasons that this is why it didn't sell as well. Fine. I'm like, there are a million reasons that these games aren't going to sell as well. Like Max's favorite Street Fighter game, Third Strike, sold like crap. It didn't even make the top. Like, I'm looking at got numbers from Capcom's website. Didn't even make the list. It sold terribly. It's got like a hardcore community still, but it was not a financial success, and it shouldn't be looked at as a game that's like, oh, we should make more of that if we want to make money. Street Fighter 4 Vanilla 3.4. Now, you would imagine that Super Street Fighter 4 and Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition and Ultra Street Fighter 4 might maintain some of that player base. Maybe even like the final version selling better because it has more characters, it has better mechanics, it's more balanced. No. About a quarter of the player base picked up those games. Like Ultra Street Fighter 4 sold 1.3 million copies. If you were playing Street Fighter 4 in August of 2014, you are part of this 1.3 million compared to the 3.4 that Vanilla sold. 5, Street Fighter 5, with all of the bad press, with no single player mode, with nothing going for it, and a ton of hate from the competitive community, sold 3.1 million copies. It tripled the player base from Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Wow.
And so when I hear, and like the thing that's frustrating to me is like everyone points to Street Fighter 5 as being this simple
it's this
Street Fighter
game.
for babies. Okay, 2 things. 1, 6% of the player base of Street Fighter 5 got to gold. 6% of the player base of Street Fighter 5 got to gold in ranked. 6% of 3.1 million people. I am one of those 6%. I actually bought the game twice, got to gold on PC, got to gold on PS4. And it's important to note, Street Fighter 5 is like my first real fighting game. Like I played 4 and I played Marvel 3 and I sucked at both, didn't understand how to play fighting games. I just mashed buttons and was really upset that I would ever have to block. Street Fighter V, because it was so simple, appealed to me and was like, I can play this. It also helped that it had a huge player base of bad players. Like, that's how you get good at a fighting game, is having a ton of bad players who you can play with and learn slowly and organically. Marvel 3 doesn't have that. And so when Max
it did at the beginning.
I played it day one, dude. I played it day one and was getting bodied by people doing like long ass combos that were not training mode combos. So I don't know that it did or didn't in the beginning, but I was playing it and was getting hot bodied by people because I was just trying to like mess around and doing team aerial combos constantly.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was just a bad time. I just mostly just played it with my roommate. So anyway, Street Fighter V, when Max says that simplifying stuff doesn't appeal to anyone, like, I'm in that weird middle ground where it appealed to me.
Yeah.
And if 10% of the player base who's actually hardcore, and when I say 10%, I mean like the 5% or 6% that's like gold and above, the people who are FGC, the people who are going to tournaments and care about the competitive nature of the game. And I think gold is even generous for that. If you lose 10% of that player base by making the game more casual, but one in 100 of the casual player base get a friend to play it because it's easier, you've gained players.
Yes.
And so
care.
like they don't care. And if you're looking at sales, making the game simpler, like this is Blizzard's MO.
I want to make a
go ahead. I've been talking a lot.
I want to make a distinction, right? I wanted to ask you about this distinction, and then I wanted to bring something up. I want you're saying simple a lot. I want you to make a distinction. Do you mean executionally simple or
I mean executionally simple. I mean executionally simple because when I played Ultra, I couldn't do the training mode combos because the game had a shitty tutorial and didn't tell me I had to like basically use the same inputs from the previous move input as part of the next move. Like none of that was included in the tutorial, so I had no idea how to do anything. And so like tutorial being bad aside, like, imagine playing chess with someone and being told that, like, your pieces can only move half as far as their pieces can move.
Yeah.
Like, that's it, like, I understand that, like, oh, well, it's sports or whatever. There are a lot of people that make a sports analogy where it's just, you just have to have the skill to do it. It's like, yeah, but, like, when I play Dota or when I play League or when I play Counter-Strike, when I shoot my gun, it still shoots. Like, in Street Fighter, fighting games...
This person is better at shooting the gun, but I can still shoot. I can suck at it, but I can still do it.
Right. And fighting games have this unique thing where, like, they have windows and execution points where it's like, if you don't hit the buttons at the right timings, you don't get to do the thing. Like, you can do the thing on its own, but if you don't have this tempo, you don't get to do it. And that's something very unique to fighting games that most other games don't have. Like, Dota is the only other game that I'm aware of that actively fights the player. I guess StarCraft 1 actively fights the player and makes it harder for them to do the thing they want to do. And so, like, it's a weird design philosophy, and there is a minority of players who really like that and who are super hardcore about that, but they financially do not matter to these companies. The only reason that they matter is, one, if you have an arcade release for a fighting game, and some fighting games still do have arcade releases. I will grant you that, like, the people who play in arcades care about that. Two, if you're trying to do esports, which the FGC actually has a really weird thing with esports, because the way, like, esports is about making money. It's not about finding the best player. Like, and so, like, Blizzard is doing that with their, you know, they're trying to use the tribalism of basically location-based sports to do Overwatch League and be like, you care about this team because they're near you. And it's like, that's how normal sports works. Normal sports, like, you're not trying to find the best basketball or baseball team that you can possibly make. You're trying to get people to spend money on these sports so that we can make money off of these fans. Like, that's the point. Right. And so, like, FGC and esports in that regard is actually kind of tricky to do, because the players want to be the best. Like, that's what the players want to do. Like, they're not there for these stupid, like, you know, having these storylines or whatever, or, like, you know, they might do crew battles or salty sweets or whatever just to, like, have fun. But, like, the idea that you're going to get money, you're going to extract value out of their play, it's still a shaky business proposition. So, like, necessarily designing your game for that isn't as great. But I do want to get back to the one frame links and what I was talking about there, where it's like, if I feel like I cannot like I'm not playing the same game as the other guy, not because of headspace decisions, but because literally my fingers can't hit the buttons correctly and it's impossible for me to do. Like that, it doesn't even matter if this person would still beat me if that imbalance wasn't there. It feels worse. And feeling worse is actually like the most important thing about games. Like the way it feels. And Max knows this because he talks about making moves feel good. And that being the way that you like emotional impact on players is literally the most important thing for games. And so like Max is totally right on so many of his points where he talks about having things feel good, having a roster that you care about, having all these things. The only thing is like he needs to reword his final point, which is he feels like you can make a game that is appealing to casuals and still suits his tastes. And that's what he wants. And like I get that feeling. I understand that emotional feeling, but like there isn't a rational reason to do that for a developer outside of the fact that Max is a huge influencer, and if you can get him specifically playing your game, you can get more sales. So like,
you know what game that was that did that? Partially, you can say that it's Homer bias, and I'm saying it because I love the game, but it's Marvel 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the history of the development strategy of Marvel 3, but I do know that Max adored that game.
Like Max, like he loves the game. The game, you can walk up to people, like just people on the street who have some kind of interaction with fighting games, and like mention Marvel 3, and people will get excited.
Oh yeah, man.
You want to know something really, really messed up about Marvel 3? Original Marvel 3 sold 2.2 million copies. Ultimate Edition sold 1.2 million. They lost about half of the player base when the Ultimate Edition came out. About 6 months later. It did. But Ultimate Edition is what all of the hardcore. Ultimate Edition is what everyone was playing competitively.
Yes.
Like that. So like half of the like if you were playing Marvel 3 after 2012, it came out in 2011. You were playing Ultimate Edition.
Yes.
Infinite sold better than Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. It's a new game. Of course it did. Yeah,
it's a new game, and it had the same issues that Street Fighter V did, where everyone hated
with you. Oh, okay, all right.
Where everyone hated on it and whatever else. But I'm saying like starting player base of Infinite was better than, not much. Let's be clear, not much, but it was better than Ultimate Edition had.
There's nowhere to sit right now.
So like it's just another thing where I'm like, oh, okay, like obviously nobody wanted to buy Infinite because DBZ stole their thunder, but it's a game that didn't sell nearly as poorly as everyone seems to think it did. Like it still did not meet expectations, but it broke 1 million. 1 million sales isn't nothing.
No, it's true. It's true.
Anyway, yeah, like my big take-home point for this Max story is like, I wish that he was a little more, I wish that people with this opinion were a little more humble about it. Instead of like, it seems like he's trying to make the argument that like making mechanics simple never helps games. Not true. Blizzard's entire business strategy is making mechanics simple. Brawl sold twice as much. Yeah, let me pull up the exact number. Brawl sold twice as well as Melee. Melee sold 7 million. Brawl sold 13 million. Like almost twice as much. Yeah, and then you could make the argument, oh, well, Brawl was on Wii and Melee was on GameCube, and GameCube wasn't as good of a console. There's a bunch of things you can say where it's like, oh, this doesn't matter because those are all of these other things. And it's like,
those aren't even excuses, really. Those are real factors, but still.
But still, like, when you tell me that, like Brawl was broken. Meta Knight, only viable character as far as I'm aware. Tripping. Like, we made, like, people made Project M, which I adored, by the way, because Brawl was so bad. And so like absolutely there are tons of documented cases of simplifying mechanics in games and in fighting games where they sell better. And there are tons of examples of complicating mechanics in fighting games where they sell worse. The simplest example being every Street Fighter game since 2 Turbo has sold worse. And like you can talk about why that happened, but like
Yeah.
like there are too many factors to really like absolutely drop point. I'm not trying to make this as like, oh well, this is like clearly the reason that this happened, but like when Max says there's no record of it ever happening, he's just wrong. Like that's not true. And so like if people, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I honestly think that he's talking about the educated response to simplification and execution, right? But the problem with that is the casual response to high execution is just what you said. My fingers can't do the thing correctly, so he's going to win all the time, and that feels bad.
Yeah, and like to be clear, Max is 100% right. You'll still lose to that guy. I still lose in Sam's show to tons of players, even though like I can mostly do all the things I need to do because they're better at footsies and they're better at fundamentals. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you'll still lose. It matters how it feels. And if it feels unfair to begin with, it's worse.
Yes, right. So I wanted to bring up the YouTube channel Extra Credits.
Yeah, that's a great channel. That was a great channel.
Right. They did a video a while back about fighting games, and most of their argument about introducing fighting games to new to new players, like why are fighting games so niche still? Most of their argument was execution is hard. Right? Most of their argument was doing the thing is hard. Your mechanics are hard. Introduce them to more people. Right? Give us a tutorial. Give us a, hey, you can do this thing now, right? Show people when to do stuff. There's so much to do. Show them when to do it.
I mean, one thing that I've thought about making fighting games in the past. I've had like a bunch of different prototype ideas, and one thing that like really sticks out to me is that nobody has done, and I don't understand why. Show people are like the most important and biggest combo that they got hit by. Show where the combo started. And show what they should have done instead. Like it's not hard. Most of these decisions are like, okay, the opponent did this, so what should you have done? What should you have done differently? Like, what was the answer? Did you not anti-air this jump in? Like, he did this thing. It was unsafe on block. Let me pull up a recording of a CPU punishing that and show you how to punish it. Like,
I think that the beginning of that is Street Fighter V CFN system, because I honestly believe that Street Fighter V has the best replay system in fighting games, bar none.
It does, but my point is still that like the game isn't teaching you. It's like even in Sam's show, what's crazy to me is like they show you, they don't give you all the moves. Like the move list doesn't list all the moves. Like Darley has a forward kick move that's a command normal that's not listed. Like I swear to God, fighting games are one of the only game series that still to this day hide stuff from the player. So that you have to like go on your own little safari of exploration or wait a month and look it up on the internet to figure out how to play the game. Like you wouldn't accept that in a MOBA. You wouldn't accept a character being released in a competitive game and them being like, I don't know what the buttons do. You'll just have to figure it out. Like that's absurd to me. That is actually absurd to me.
Yeah, no, it's true. But the reason I brought up Street Fighter V's replay system is because you could take that, right, the stride that they made with that, and then build off of it to make the thing you're talking about, right?
Yeah, you absolutely could. I mean, there's a bunch of ways you could do it, but like, the most frustrating thing for me in a fighting game is when I'm losing to something and I don't understand what the right answer is, and I'm not particularly good at labbing. And I'm not the only one in the world who's not particularly good at labbing. So like I'll like, and beyond that, like I have a hitbox that I've made, doesn't have an L3, doesn't have an R3, doesn't have a touchpad. And so like setting up a thing to record is actually a complete pain in the ass for me. To do like that playback, because I'm just missing the standard buttons that it uses. So like while I can eventually do it, like the fact that I'm even willing to do it, and again, I'm not good at Rapid, can you mute yourself? All right. So I'm not particularly good at fighting games, but like the 96 or 94% of players who are worse than me at Street Fighter, who are like in the super casual realm, like the idea of even going into training mode and hitting record is absurd to them. They're not going to do that. I have a friend who's actually pretty good at fighting games who refuses to lab anything. He just plays and plays and plays and plays until he figures everything out. And having the game straight up tell you, oh, you screwed this up. Because I'm the game, I know how you are supposed to fix that. I know exactly what you're supposed to do. Here, let me show you so you don't have to waste a ton of your time trying to figure it out. Like, I understand that, like, there's this idea of gatekeeping and earning sort of your place and figuring things out for yourself in fighting games, but give people the option to not have to do that, because we're in an era where we have so many fighting games coming out. You had the Power Rangers fighting game. You've got Sam's Show. You've got Soul Calibur. You've got Tekken. You've got Street Fighter. You've got Dragon Ball. You got, and like we are in a golden era. You got DOA of fighting games, and so like if you want players to have time to look at yours, like make it easier to learn for these casual players, and they will consider committing more time. Because like I have friends who I want to get into fighting games, so I'm like, oh man, we used to play, you know, PUBG or whatever else, and now we don't want to play that anymore, and Apex isn't appealing to you anymore. I like fighting games. Can I get you into it? And they're just like, nah, I don't want to play because you'll just beat me. And it's like, okay, like they're like a huge part of the potential player base is intimidated purely because they feel like they will be instantly bad, and they feel that they are so far behind and that they would have to commit so much time to learn. And the reason that they have to commit so much time is because the game is intentionally obfuscating like the important mechanics. And it's the
thing about that though, like, how do you fix that without invalidating your time? Because you spent the time to figure it out. So how do you fix that without invalidating?
But like, I would argue. So if you want to argue, you can argue about spending time practicing and getting good at tech skill, and that's the only argument I'm willing to hear about tech skill is like, oh, because I practiced, I got better, and because I got better, that earns me the right to beat people. Sure, but like after a month, you can watch a guide on what the best bread and butter is. Are people upset that they had to lab good bread and butters in Marvel or DBZ or any other particular fighting game? And then, oh, well, I figured that out, and now there's a YouTube video, so other people didn't have to spend the time to figure it out. Like, I don't buy that argument. How you spend your time is your time. Like, there are people who are just naturally better at fighting games and are better at executing combos. Well, younger people are better at reactions. Like, I don't care that you spent the time to do it, and that time is now invalidated because either we're not making them execute on that, or we're giving them that information for free. Like, you chose to spend your time that way. And there's plenty of other shortcuts people can take to get better at things. And there are plenty of people who won't have to spend the same amount of time as you to get better at the same level. Conversely, there are probably tons of people who have to spend 3 times the amount of time you did to get to the same level that you're at. And so like when someone says, oh, but I spent this amount of time, it's like, that's irrelevant. That's your choice. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I feel like everyone has their own amount of time they have to spend to get good at something. And there are plenty of people I know who could spend like 3 to 4 hours just trying to do to differentiate between a dragon punch and a fireball and couldn't. Like, I have a roommate who just couldn't fucking do it. Couldn't do it. He spent hours and hours and hours trying to do it. Played Zero and MVC3. Would always screw up Dragon Punch and Fireball. And like, I talked to pros who are like, yo, that's the simplest thing in the world. My dad could do that after an hour. And I'm like, well, that's great that your dad could, but my friend couldn't. And they're different people. So it is what it is. Ugh. Anyone else want to get on this? I know we've talked about it a lot. I had other numbers, but I don't know if they're quite as relevant.
I still feel like
Sorry, Rap.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, like, I still feel like you don't care about that time spent learning, but I do. I care a lot because I came from music and sports, and everything else in life, music, sports, anything else you want to get good at, rewards time. Anything else, it doesn't matter. Music,
sure, but like look at
anything else.
I would look at it this way. You can so like there's a rule of thumb that like 10 years is about the amount of time it takes to be a master at something. If you do something for 10 years, 10,000 hours. You can play chess for 10,000 hours and get super good at chess. You're never like a new player can still move the pieces the right way. And so like I'm my taste, again, this is my taste, I prefer the complex decision space. Like, I prefer the fighting game that has like, it has reasonable reactions, but a lot of crazy things you can do.
Right.
And so like, I hear what you're saying, and that's important to you. But like, I'm also hearing the melee kids who are like, I want L canceling back in because that's something I got good at, and I want to be better than other people because I spent that time. And it's like, okay, but the developers of Ultimate don't care. And like, as a developer and as other developers, you are such a minority that they shouldn't care.
No, it's
I get why you care, but do you care enough to not buy the next fighting game? I don't think you do.
No.
Yeah. And so that's what it comes down to.
No, that's true.
I mean, and you're welcome to make your own fighting games. Like, I know Mango for Tango, big guy in the MVCI community, he's making a fighting game. It looks sick. And like, you know, when people are like, you know, or when people like Max are like, oh man, make your fighting games exactly the way I want them to. It's like, make your own fighting game, man. Like, I mean, I know he did. He worked on KI a lot. But like the idea of telling a developer how to make a game, like fighting games are so niche already. Most of the developers of fighting games are pretty passionate about fighting games because it's not a winning strategy for making a game. Like, you know what sold better than Street Fighter? Freaking, I want to make sure I get this right. Well, yeah, MK did sell almost twice as well. MKX sold 10 million copies, but Cities Skylines sold better than Super Turbo. Cities Skylines, the indie city building game for PC.
Yeah.
You know what else sold better? Both Xenoverse titles. Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, the casual, non-competitive fighting game arena fighters for Dragon Ball, sold way better. And so like, as like for indie devs making a fighting game, like I love the idea of Blade Strangers. I only played it for like like an hour or so because I couldn't find anyone to play it with. But I bought it and I wanted to play it with more. But like nobody bought that game as far as I can tell. Like like you know, probably the most successful indie fighting game would be Skullgirls. Like and those people care so much about their community and so much about their fans, but like they still aren't. They've reached moderate success at best. So like most devs making fighting games, like when people are telling them how to make it, it's to me as a dev, it's kind of insulting because it's like a lot of the people, if you're going to make a fighting game, you care about fighting games and you have your own taste. And like you still got corporate breathing down your back that you have to like, you know, meet some certain sales numbers. And so like there is that issue of like, okay, well, this has to be some level of financial success or reach some level of financial success. But like to be like told by what is 6% of your potential sales that like you have to make the game like this, it's like, oh, it gets on my nerves. Anyway.
So the thing I wanted to say was that like there could be a so like to make another analogy, right? If we're playing basketball and you suck at shooting, you can still shoot. You're just going to be less effective at it than me because I've put in the time to be able to do it well, right?
Sure, but like you could make that rim. Well, you could make that rim like okay. Go ahead. Sorry,
like so, a thing that I'm relatively sure, like I'm pretty sure, there has been at least one fighting game that's experimented with it. Make the effectiveness better for people who are better at it. You can still do it. It just like does more damage in a tighter frame window or something.
I think that's a fine. I think that's a fine way of doing it. Like I don't understand. I don't disagree with that particular concept of a mechanic. It's just a matter of where that line is, right? It's a matter of like how much edge are you getting for how much execution. And for some people, they want that edge to be like super far to the right, and some people they want it to be like super far to, you know, the casual side of things. And so like I think that is a good idea because it makes it so that the animation still happens and the casual player is like, oh, I still did the thing. But like the competitive player is like, oh, I did the thing and, you know, the screen went dark when I hit because I frame perfect hit this last thing and I'm super good or whatever. Like, fine. There are like
a better version of your thing.
Right. And there are levels to execution. And I'm not here to say, oh, we should make everything one, like, you know, we should make everything dive kick or whatever. Which is still a fun game, but
no, it's fun.
The point I'm trying to the complexity of the mechanics literally don't matter for sales in
No.
terms of like
No, they don't. You're
the
absolutely
casual
right.
audience. And so
It's true.
the developers are going to make the game that they want to make.
Yes.
And Max is in a unique position because if a developer makes a game that he likes, they get more sales. And so developers are rewarded to appealing to his tastes. But if he was a nobody, then the fact, and like there's a lot of other people in the FGC community who have similar but maybe slightly different tastes from Max. Like a lot of other people hate MVCI.
No, that ain't correct.
Then their opinions matter far less, and they're still a very loud minority.
It's true. Give me 1 second.
I think that's all I have to say on it. Like I know I've been dominating the conversation, but this is like a thing I definitely have been passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Is Zerms there? Is Zerms right there?
I'm here.
Yeah, I think I'm done too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go with the final couple topics.
By the time we sit down in the green onion,
Yeah.
Topics for
it'll be time to get back up and start walking
It's
again.
true. It's true.
So we can maybe get something to
Raptor, can you mute your phone?
So we can do that.
It says we can go over the final couple topics. One is basically that it's confirmed that there's going to be an evil side event for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinites. That Angelic set up, that's already been set up, and they already taken registers for it. I don't know if it's signups are still going for it, or it's going to end on the 14th, or it's going to go.
Signups are still like going up until like August 1st. So if you guys are going to EVE, make sure to like, if you guys want to get some Marvel in, there's like the side tournaments for both Infinite and Marvel 3. You guys want to sign up for that?
Did I miss? I thought I read that they were going to stream Marvel 3, but not Infinite. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. That's correct, Wolf.
God, I swear, Mr. Like, all right,
Yeah.
all right, fine.
I honestly feel like Evo at this point has been eclipsed as the premier tournament. I feel like the premier tournament now is Combo Breaker. Which is worse for me because it's farther away, but I think it's better for the community as a whole because Combo Breaker is more devoted to serving the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the Infinite. That's all for Evo right there. About the news right there. The other one's gonna be.
And also, Canada gave like one more news about Evo for the.
Oh, you're gonna go talk about Evo? I was gonna go to CEO.
Okay, well, that's like one more thing I want to talk about. The Marvel Salty Suite that's hosted by Jason, aka MA Lover. They are gonna host that on Saturday night during Evil Week. They'll be doing like exhibitions sets for Marvel Infinite and also Marvel 3 for the event. So if any of you guys who are watching like going to Eve and want to get some Marvel action in, there's always this Marvel Salty Suite. If you guys want to check out that. It's gonna be a lot of fun,
Yep, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So let's talk about the final thing we're gonna talk about today, which is CEO, which was it's Orlando's community tournament right there that Jabali holds every single year and thing. It's basically probably one of the biggest tournaments of the year, besides obviously the major tournaments for all the games, being held like Evo, and also like the major games, the Capcom Cup, the Tekken World Tour, the Art 16 Cup, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it right there? I heard that you went to CEO, Jaco. How was it?
It was pretty good, man. I only watched the top 8s for Street Fighter 5, Marvel Infinite, and Ultimate Marvel 3. It was pretty hype, man.
Yeah.
A lot of good matches for all the games. I haven't watched all the top 8s obviously, but it was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch too right there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really had I don't remember a lot of the stuff right here because it's been like a couple weeks with this, so I don't remember a lot. I watched a decent amount, try to watch a decent amount of everything, and I don't remember the results really for it. We can go over to some of the results real quick if I can bring it up real quick. So give me 1 second.
I can send it. I got the link. There we go.
So we're gonna go over right there. See, we're not gonna go in depth with the top results right there.
Mhm.
MK Leo won Ultimate with Joker, Ultimate Melee. Bonchan won Street Fighter 5 Arcade Edition with Karen and Sagat.
Very nice.
NK11 was won by Sonic Fox, which uses Casey and Jack Kui. Probably messed up that name right there. Tekken 7 was won by Nee, using basically Steve, Geese, and Brian. Dragon
Mhm.
Ball Fighters was won by Goichi, using the team Bardock, Kid Goku, and Goku. Was actually Bardock, GT Goku, and Super Saiyan Goku. Melee was
Mhm.
won by Hungerbox using Jigglypuff.
The
Direct,
Saiyan bloodline.
yep. Blaze Cross-Side Battle was won by Tempest Romero using Wallenstein and Ryu and Vanessa and Minerva. Tech Dead Alive 6 was won by Excalibur Blaze using Phase 4 and Elliot. Other Night in Birth, EX Latest was won by Red Blade using Wagner and Akuli. And basically that. Guilty Gear Rev 2, I think, was won by Lost Soul using all events.
Akatsuki?
Yeah, Akatsuki right there. But yeah, Red was because it looks like Goichi switched to Gordu, like throughout the set right there, and probably like Red Blade switched to like counter that.
Mhm.
It says, actually, it looks like Red Blade like looks like he's a side character against someone else right there, but uses his man against Goichi. Okay. Soul Calibur 6, Blue God won with as well. Blaze Blue Central Fiction won by Finwest using Jin. Samurai
Nice.
Showdown, Justin won with Tantam. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Blaze Hollow won Chun Li and Winter Soldier, and also
Good
Sweet
stuff, him.
Soul. Flux
Mhm.
won Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with Zero Verso Dante, Zero May Cry. Street Fighter Cross
Very nice.
Tekken version 2013. Spacey Steve won with Vega and King. Busso Sensei Sailor Moon S. Zhao Hai won with Sid and Uranus. And that's
Yeah,
all.
that's interesting.
Yeah, basically, everything was actually pretty interesting. I know people like, and I know like Melee. I mean, Ultimate right there. People thought that like MP Leo. People think Joker is now top tier because how good Leo was using Joker in the tournament.
Mhm.
Um, basically, like Bonchan freaking played out of his mind with freaking Karen Sagat in Street Fighter 5. I know Sonic Fox came back from losers right there, was actually pretty good, and he like was won because this is like one of like the first major tournaments that he won with the team, I believe, with in Mortal Kombat 11, sorry.
Uh huh.
Neve like was doing pretty fucking damn well right there and won right there. Obviously, Neve's one of the best players in the game. Goichi still fucking a force to be reckoned with right there with Fenritz right there, also the same thing. But Fenritz still doing good right there. But the kill stage actually got third. Is actually pretty good. Sisuke is actually like a definitely good player. Silent Fox right
Oh, he
there.
is, man.
Silent Fox got fourth. No Kami got tied for fifth. Joker got fifth two. Saints actually got tied for seventh right there. That's actually pretty interesting. And Hazen also got 7-2. Um, the only notable player that I saw for Melee is Hungrybox and oh yeah, Fuzzob. I almost forgot Fuzzob. And then PPQU right there, but got eighth, got tied for eighth. Obviously, right there, this tournament was pretty freaking good right there. Obviously, I know it has some issues right there with it, with the flights getting delayed right there, and basically they freaking had to delay pools so that people can actually enter it. Was stupid right here because if you know
That's what I heard. Yeah.
yeah, what's stupid? I know sucks that they had to like they delayed pools with certain players, and then they qualified other players because they didn't make pool because the same issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't really remember much from like CEO at all. So
Did you watch during like Street Fighter 5 top 8? Do you like watch do Kevin's intro because they do like intros
oh
at
yeah,
a CDO?
I actually did not see that right there. I've been I
Oh,
wa-
let me pull up very quick.
Okay,
It's great.
I will watch it later. I will watch it later.
Okay, I don't. Okay, fair enough. I don't want to spoil it. That's great, man.
Yeah, so yeah, it's was a pretty good time right there, and I don't know like it says, it was a pretty good tournament from one I remember, but obviously it's been a while. Like I don't remember much of it at all for some reason.
Mm. It's been like what, like 2 or 3 weeks. Well, actually, it's been like 2 weeks
Yeah,
since CDO. So
yeah,
you know.
I know. Okay, well, I think that's probably gonna be it for the discussion right there. Unless you guys want to like talk about any of it at all.
I'll be at Evo next month. Pretty excited for that.
Yep, that's cool.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
The only thing that I would want to talk about is the league I'm running. And I don't know if that's okay with you guys,
You
because
guys,
that's kind
you,
of like
you can do it, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
okay. I'm running a Street Fighter 5 league for another server, the Shimmy Network server. If you guys want to check that out, I'm streaming that every Saturday and Sunday at
Oh, nice,
12
man.
at noon Pacific Standard Time, and that's at twitch.tv/Heavenly Talon. So if you guys want to check that out, take a look at that, and watch that. That's happening every week. We are running. We started a couple weeks ago, and we're running until the week after Evo.
Mhm.
Evo is a bye week for everybody because people are going to Evo, people are doing their own stuff. Um, but Evo is a bye week, but the week after Evo we're still going, and that's going to be the last game of that season. So if you guys want to watch that, check that out.
Oh yeah, of course, man. Can't send us the links for that. I want to check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it all right if
I'll link you guys.
is it all right if I rep the game I'm working on briefly?
Sure.
Sure thing, man.
Yeah, so I'm working on, if you guys aren't aware, there's a escape room VR game called Hush in Search of Dominic Ward. It's vaguely Lovecraftian inspired. It's a virtual reality escape room. You play with another player. We just did a closed beta. It's hopefully coming out by the end of the year. You can check us out on Steam, add it to your wish list. It helps me out a lot. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yep. No, that's cool. Well, um, yeah. So I am flying high.
I'm Chaco, man.
I'm Erebus Wolf.
And I'm Raptor. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep. See you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yep. See you guys and have a nice night. See you guys.